All right, what the hell's going on here? Hold on, I'm gonna get Eric in here. Sorry about that, peoples. We were having a little problem with the internet. It was showing us that we weren't live. So let me get Eric in here. I'll play the intro real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, people.
And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
All right, we're live.
That was perfect timing, huh? I was trying to get myself back in. Anyway, good morning, everybody. It's early in the morning, 8:05 Eastern time. Actually, we're a little late, a couple of minutes. Things happen. 5:05 in the morning on the West Coast. Listen, couple difficulties. These things happen. Anyway, good morning to our listeners, friends of the podcast. We already got a lot of people on here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We already got a donation to the podcast. Jesse James, $19.99. Thank you so much. It says coffee on me this week, fellas. Outstanding. Nighthawk 13666, top of the morning, folks. Always doing roll call for us. And
Toka plays too.
Toka plays. Here we go. Toka plays $9.99. Doing God's work. Thank you, brother. Actually, listen, we appreciate it. I mean, we're in retirement here doing the podcast. We're safe. Maybe not safe from the upper echelon of the police department from their goons, but you guys that are still active out there doing police work, you're doing God's work. Thank you so much that you continue doing it. John, it's been a hell of a week, man. It's been a hell of a week. It's almost a week since we got the information about this FBI probe of the New York City Police Department, some part of the administration of Eric Adams. And it's a wild time, brother. What do you think it's like to be a cop at one police plaza right now?
I don't know, but if I was still there, I could tell you this. I would have a huge smile on my face right now because I never associated with any of these people anyway. So to me, I'm sure the people that are around them are very nervous, but I'm sure there's a lot of people with a lot of smirking going on. But let's talk about yesterday. You know, yesterday's 9/11. We actually shut down for the ceremony. We tried to stay offline past the ceremony until past the ceremony. I didn't want to bring up the corruption scandal during that, and then we waited a few hours before we went back online, started talking about things. But, I think it's got to be brought up that something very disrespectful happened yesterday and during the ceremony. So here's what happened. This was the first time that we did not have a police commissioner, a chief of department, chief of patrol. We never even had a deputy commissioner operations that went out in the field, so I don't know about that. But, they would John Schell, Kaz Daughtry, Ed Caban, nobody was at the 9/11 ceremony in Manhattan. Tanya Kinsella was in Staten Island. She was there with Letitia James and Governor Kathy Hochul, but the rest of them were nowhere to be found. What do you think about that, Eric?
Yeah, I was so disappointed. Before I go into that, I just want to say thank you to Patrick Donahue, another $9.99. Absolutely. Thank you for our friends and listeners to the podcast. Donate to the podcast. You and I both agreed yesterday that 9/11 is so dear and near to every one of us, especially those that remember where and what you were doing on that day. People might be young enough, our friends and listeners to the podcast might be young enough that they were born right afterwards. But to see that they weren't there, I tell you, it was really disheartening. Especially, you and I both said, we're on social media quite early. We start to get our messaging out with the podcast. And we said, we're not going to do any messaging while the ceremony is going on because of respect for our heroes, respect for the men and women that were there that day during 9/11, the men and women that lost their lives. And to see that they weren't present and can't put aside their feelings and emotions of the probe that's going on, of the criticism that they get from this podcast, the criticism that they get from journalists. Again, it goes back to what I've been saying, John, and this is what I really believe. that they don't put others before they put themselves. And that's what I learned in the Marine Corps. Mission first, troop welfare second. Now with this administration first. This administration, it's troop welfare, then the mission. And they're putting themselves first. It's egos over everything. They're more concerned about themselves than honoring the heroes of 9/11.
Yeah, you know who else wasn't there? Eric Adams wasn't there. Eric Adams, the illustrious mayor in New York City. So here's what's real troubling about this. And, this is something that, we've been calling Eric Adams a liar for 2.5 years. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years. You've been doing it for about 2. We've been calling them, he's lying, he's lying, he's lying. We know they're lying. The media is not acknowledging lying. I've been beating up Dan Manmarino recently online because he's with WPix 11, I believe. And he's like friendly media to them. They go run to, the whole Kazman thing. And where do we go? We go on friendly media shows, that whole thing. Like we were making fun of him. Like Dan's one of those guys. Dan's one of those guys they go to. But even, he'll let them sit there and tell you crime's down and all that, when in fact it isn't. But we've been saying for 2 years, these guys get up there every day and they lie to you. DCPI is Deputy Commissioner of Public Information is a liar. He doesn't tell the truth either. So Dan Manmarino actually puts this out last night. I'm shocked. He tweets on September 11th, NYPD Deputy Commissioner Tyreek Shepard says on Pix 11 News this morning that NYPD Commissioner Ed Caban will be in attendance at the 9/11 ceremony in Lower Manhattan. Says he isn't doing morning interviews, but he will attend the memorial. Later on that day, Dan Manmarino, whatever you want to say, he actually retweets this. And he says, after telling us this, the commissioner was not at the 9/11 ceremony. What do you think about that?
Well, it goes to the theme of this entire administration. You and I have been saying exactly right. For 2.5 years, you've been saying this administration does nothing but lie. And when you and I joined together, we both had the same observations. We both felt the same way, that this administration is just gaslighting the public. That's the theme. They either gaslight the public or they omit information. And that's just another straight out lie. This is the one day, 9/11, September 11th. This is the day that led, most service members to deploy overseas, like myself. I deployed to Iraq, served a tour in combat. Deployed January 2003. Our men and women with their boots on the ground. That's a day that we must. Everyone in the entire country has to stop, take a breath, and honor. And even if you're in a time of peril and you're facing scrutiny, this is the time to put everything aside. I think Ron Lason put a comment. Even Kamala Harris and Trump stood side by side. Rafael Martinez, thank you so much. Just donated $100 to the podcast. And his comment says, good morning, John and Eric. Jesse got you guys breakfast. I will take care of lunch. God bless you both. Hand salute. We salute you also. Again, all the retired members of the service, thank you so much for what you've done. The retired members, especially those that retired around 2000, you really paved the way for the cops that were serving during myself and John and made a safer time for us. And I can't thank you enough because of the broken windows and intrusive policing. And the active members of the service right now, you're the ones doing God's work. And thank you so much. And not just NYPD. We have friends and listeners on this podcast. They're in other parts of the country. Thank you for what you do every day. Thank God that we're in retirement and you keep us safe so we can collect our pensions. Again, it's a disgrace that they weren't there, John. Put your stuff aside. Put your feelings aside. September 11th, you salute and you remain silent for the honor of the families that lost loved ones and for those that are still serving.
It's twofold for me. It's not just a disgrace that they weren't there. It's not just a disgrace to the rank and file, and it's not just a disgrace to New York City and to the families. The 9/11 families, it's not just a disgrace to all those people, and it's a town on the shield. But then you lie about it. Like you have no problem. Like this administration has no problem lying. None. If they name Tyreek Shepard the police commissioner later today, this is unacceptable, man. It's It's unacceptable. He's cursing at reporters. He's doing the dance when people are asking why Ed Caban's in DR when he was doing his agreements in the Dominican Republic. It's like twofold for me. It really just shows the disdain for the public. It really just shows the disdain for everybody. We're above you. You know, Eric Adams made me a deputy commissioner, so you're beneath me. I'm better than you. That's what Tyreek Shepard lying to the media, lying to the public is to me. It's a slap in the face. And it's the same thing when it goes to John Shell going up there. Nah, that wasn't a raid. Nah, 15 agents just showed up. They just asked for his phone. That wasn't a raid. There's a lot of misinformation going on. They just asked for phones. That was it. No big deal, right? I mean, he wasn't that confident about it, obviously. He wasn't as confident as he was the day before when he was in the green room having coffee, tweeting about it. Were you, John? Right? So for those of you just tuning in, we got about 286 people on here. We're going to be bringing you live up to date with the information that's coming out of One Police Plaza. We're expecting a lot of things to happen today. I mean, those are the rumors. That's what we're hearing. So we'll see if, in fact, that does happen. So if you guys could just do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe subscribe and share out this space. Let's get a few more people in here and talk about it. We titled this about an article that had came out in the Post. Really didn't have too much context into it other than that basically the upper echelon of the NYPD and numerous other people in 1PP are now meeting outside of the building because they're worried about federal wiretaps. They're worried about wires and bugs inside of One Police Plaza, and they're holding meetings in the parking lot. Eric, what did you think when you saw
that? First of all, thank you so much, a Crazy 107 1999 to the podcast. Crazy 107 says, Rafael Martinez, thank you for donating to these guys. They are our saving graces. Doing my part with a legal donation, unlike most of Adams. That's outstanding. Crazy 107, great podcast. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. So, what I say, John, I immediately called you after that, right? After that came out in the papers. I said, you know what that is? That reminds me immediately. When that article came out, two things came to my mind. First came to my mind was Sam Antar, because Sam Antar, I mean, he's pretty witty. He put out a post on X, and he said, "When I was a felon and I was committing crimes, I knew not to piss off the media." He says, "You dummies never realized that." And he goes, "I like to see the dummies involved." And it was Ed Caban, it was Chief of Patrol, it was Commissioner Daughtry. And I thought that was hysterical. And right away, that second thing run to me, I said, this was a fuck you from the media to the NYPD. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. 100%. This is the media saying, oh, you want to mess with us? Yeah, Sam Antar said, my number one rule was don't piss off the New York Post. I guess you dummies didn't learn that. And he tagged New York City Mayor Kaz Daughtry, John Shell, and Tyreek Shepard. and that he was 100% right? Because now it's like, all right, now I'm going to let everybody know you guys are meeting in the parking lot. You guys are meeting in the parking lot like it's like you're like in casino when they're walking out of the gold rush, and it's like Nikki found out that they're having the FBI's they're on the FBI surveillance, and they brought in lip readers because they would only talk outside. So now they're talking like this, you know, and it's disgraceful, man. It's fucking disgraceful because, you know, integrity, honesty, they're non-negotiables in policing. They're non-negotiables in policing. So if you can't have a conversation in your building, if you can't have a conversation on your cell phone, you're worried about it. I mean, by all means, I think the NYPD tapped my phone, but I'm not worried about it. I'll still say how I feel about everything because the conversation's an honest conversation, right? If anything, the only thing they're going to get is me implicating them in things, not me implicating myself in anything because I don't do anything. You know, I don't do anything that I need to worry about. I don't have any friends that are bringing me down. I'm not involved in shady business deals. I'm not trying to break the law or do anything like that. But it's an absolute disgrace to the rank and file, the NYPD, who, again, like we said, you grew up in a neighborhood and you just happen to stop by in that neighborhood because you're working that day to say hello to a business owner that you knew from when you were a child, and he hands you a 20-cent cup of free coffee. Well, now it's probably $4 cup of coffee, but if he hands you a cup of coffee and he will not take your money and you take that, that's corruption. You'll be fined for that. But these guys can't even talk about what they're doing on their phone. They can't even have real conversations with their employees. I mean, how do you even manage in this situation at this? How, like, what do you think like the rank and file feels right now?
Well, you know they're up on our phones already. I would put my last dollar on it. But we keep all the cops that we speak to anonymous. We don't give out their information. So, I'm pretty confident. I'm sure that they somehow are up on our phones in some way. I wouldn't be surprised. Or they have someone who's trying to get to us. I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, they go to such great lengths to make sure that they're on this podcast, monitor it minute by minute. I'm sure this is playing in every office right now, One Police Plaza. But I tell you, it must be a crazy time to be a cop. For one, with the boots on the ground that are actually out there doing police work right now, they're out in the field. I feel sorry for them because there was no vision before, but now especially the grumblings that must be going around, the lack of vision, lack of leadership must be more imminent now than ever. I mean, they're both, if they can't make a 9/11 ceremony, they're so focused on what's going on. They're so focused on themselves, and they're all trying to figure out who's going to implicate who if there is actual corruption behind the curtain. It must be a nightmare. It must be a nightmare for these cops. And also at this point, unfortunately, there's a majority of the commanding officers are not really commanders. They're not actually leading their commands. They're actually middlemen between the upper echelon and the subordinates. So it must be a crazy time because if we don't have commanders actually stepping up at this time saying, listen, we have a probe going on and potential for corruption for the entire upper echelon. So we have to take the lead and move forward. We need strong commanders like that. And hopefully we do. So with that being said, the police officers that are at One Police Plaza, most of them, a majority, not all, get assigned to One Police Plaza because it's an inside gig. It's a great gig. You're in a nice air-conditioned building. You're working in a nice environment. If you live in Staten Island, it's right near the Staten Island Ferry. It's a great place if you're taking the train. It must be a horrible time to be there right now. I'm sure they're like, wow, I put in for this great gig, but it's not a great gig anymore. But I do agree with you. For some of them, it must be a laughing moment. They're probably walking around like, hey, Commissioner, how you doing, sir? How you doing, James? I mean, Ed. But I'm sure that's what's going on.
A friend of mine, and I won't mention his name, but he had told me something about 2.5 years ago. And he said, these guys are dumb and corrupt as they come. He was talking about all of them. And he's like, I actually had a dream. This is 2.5 years ago. He's like, I actually had a dream that they all get perp walked out of the 14th floor. It's 2.5 years ago. Somebody told me that. I mean, I was almost floored when this investigation broke because that was the first thing I thought about was having that conversation. He goes, I had a dream and I would be shocked if it didn't happen. That's what he said to me. He goes, it was so vivid. I saw it, I'm not saying that's going to happen or that's not going to happen, but just the fact that people were thinking about this 2.5 years ago when we were talking about these appointments. I know a lot of people were asking about the thumbnail, like, oh, why is it two white guys in the parking lot? Really, I mean, if you look at who's involved in the scandal, yeah, it's stemming from the upper echelon. But who are the actual enforcers of this? Who made sure what's being alleged? Who's making sure? Manhattan North CO or Manhattan South CO, right? And then a couple of precinct commanders. They were white guys. They were the dogs out there in the field. Eric, you touched on it a little bit earlier, and we'll pull up that article later. But now the Post and the Daily News, they're a little behind this podcast, and I don't think me and Eric could take credit for putting it out first. I think we got to give credit to Dave Savella, who was on here, and he actually gave us the information and showed us that, in fact, that the police commissioner's brother did have an NYPD taxpayer-funded security detail. He had a driver. He had his own driver. So We put that out. I think we're a couple of days ahead of the news, which is we were a little behind because usually we're a few months behind in front of the news. But usually we're a few months in front of them. This day we're only a few days in front of them. But those articles that all came out since we reported on that podcast and on the last podcast. And you had alluded to it too. You said he has more access than the rank and file cop. But I think that he actually has more authority than most bosses on the job do. If the police commissioner's brother is driving around with a chauffeur who's his bodyguard, whose phone also got subpoenaed and taken, how do you think it was his interactions with supervisors in the NYPD?
So I had spoken about this in great length, right? So despite the fact that there's people that are in opposition to this podcast, and we get constant phone calls saying that Ed Caban is innocent until proven guilty, and there's no allegations at this time, I said, you're right. He is innocent until proven guilty. But what did I not know? John, what did you not know when we started getting these constant phone calls? We didn't know until, again, thank you to Dave. We didn't know that Ed Caban's brother, James Caban, and keep in mind, think about this, a former NYPD officer has his own security detail. And now think about the little components. His brother, not an identical twin, but looks just like him. His brother is a former police officer that knows the lingo of the NYPD. His brother has a paid security detail. And I said, wow, John, you and I had made a joke, right? Because you were saying, does Ed Caban have access to the Intelligence Bureau at One Police Plaza? And I said, yeah. Does his brother have a key? Is there facial recognition? And that's my point, is that his brother, knowing the lingo, looking just like him, has full access to anywhere in the police department, especially One Police Plaza. And he's even more dangerous because he knows the lingo. This right here, anyone wants to say innocent until proven guilty, this is official misconduct. This is a form of corruption. So there is no innocent until proven guilty at this time. And there's so much more behind the curtain. It leads me to believe, because the amount of information that's been omitted by this administration, the lies, the fight of perception versus truth, and the ability to gaslight the public. I think that not only that, I just want to say that I received numerous calls where people were making excuses for the police department. What do you want this person to say? They're only a 1-star chief. What do you want this person to say? They're only a 2-star chief. So you know what that means, John? James Caban has more authority and more access than any one of these chiefs, which is why I say every one of these chiefs at the upper echelon has been infected and compromised. We never heard one chief speak up and out the fact that Ed Caban's brother has a security detail. This has been going on for a year, and we never knew about it until now. That's a problem.
100%, dude. So nobody thought that was corruption. Nobody thought that was corruption. I mean, what threats does Ed Caban have, and why? I could see John Shell and Kaz Daughtry having significant threats. I could see that, honestly. I could see them being worried for their family. Ed Caban's brother, his twin, who's not an identical twin, is there anything of significance you think that he's done anything that people would want to hurt him, or that his brother's in any danger? I mean, if what's being alleged is true, it seems like they're more of a danger. It seems like me and you should probably have a security detail by the NYPD. Riley, I don't know what's up with the Rumble feed, dude. Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what the hell happened this morning. I think it's StreamYard. I'm going to try to go over to Rumble and shut that whole thing down now. I don't know what's going on, but thanks for letting us know.
Well, I tell you else, some of our friends and listeners might need a security detail also. Patrick Donahue puts a great comment here. Anyone else in here recently got their LinkedIn account viewed by a member of the Chief of Patrol's office, admin staff? I did. So that's what's going on. There's pretty much a gag order, right? People are being suppressed for having their own expression, their First Amendment speech, which is this podcast, which are friends and listeners to the podcast. Right now, we're being watched for what we say. The criticism has impeded on the ability for any leadership of the upper echelon because of their weak egos. And the comments that we have right now from our friends and listeners are also impeding on their ability to lead because their egos are so weak, it's self-serving. So I thank you so much, our friends and listeners to the podcast that have the goals to actually continue to show their criticism and give their First Amendment right and have an opinionated observation, because we are the experts. We are all the experts. We always say that's one of our slogans is we are the experts, because everyone has a right to an opinion. And sure do you, and sure do we. And this administration, especially this police department right now, is completely perturbed by expression and opinions. It's crazy. And you know what's funny about this, John? I just want to go back to this real quick. You know what's funny about this? Ed Caban's brother, supposedly what we heard is that he has a security detail for his safety because of the police commissioner. This police commissioner is the most insignificant police commissioner we've ever had. There's probably a majority of New York City residents that have no idea that he's actually the police commissioner.
Yeah. I mean, again, what has he even done to have anything to be worried about anything? It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. Other thing that we were talking about, I put out a few days ago, was about how could Ed Caban not step down? He doesn't even have a security clearance. He doesn't even have there's no way he has a security clearance, and Eric Adams was asking about it, and I don't even think he knew about it. I was like, I don't even like the guy's ridiculous. But after that, Greg McCarthy had put out an article, Fed's probe involving NYPD commissioner creates security issues for New York City ex-frontrunner for job wars. We're in uncharted territory. I wonder where you heard that one first, right? I can't put my finger on it, but I remember my post said, we're in uncharted waters, folks.
You know what's funny? That's terminology we always use on the podcast. We say someone's on uncharted territory or they're in uncharted waters. I talk about Civilian Complaint Review Board. They're in uncharted waters. Again, thank you for listening to the podcast, though. We do appreciate it, despite the fact that some want to troll us and say that we're a small podcast. That may be the case, but we may be small, but we're making big steps, brother.
Small but mighty. So let's get in this article a little bit. The federal probe involving NYPD Commissioner Ed Caban has created real security issues for the Big Apple, according to former frontrunner for the top cop spot, Carmen Best, the ex-head of the Seattle Police Department, who was once eyed by New York City Mayor Eric Adams for Caban's job, told the Post in an exclusive sit-down Monday that any active federal investigation involving such a high-ranking person in law enforcement would lead to limited information sharing between agencies. It's not a full blackout. This is uncharted territory, Best said. Less than a week after Caban's home and those of his twin brother and some allies were raided by the feds in a possible corruption investigation, the probe ensuing information issues would definitely impact Caban's job overseeing the city's security, because you need to know what cases are going on that involve the city and your personnel, she said. Now, I'm going to sit here again, and I'm going to completely disagree with Carmen Best. And, by all means, everyone's going to say she has a lot more experience than me, but I don't think she's taking the full totality of the circumstances into account here. So one, if he was just involved in a corruption allegation, could we trust him with information that involves any criminal activity? No, because he could potentially be a leak if he's dealing with criminals. The other part of this is, but when it relates to terrorism, we could give him information on that. We just can't give him information about perps and gangs and anything that's stemming out of the Bronx or New York City or any of those gangs. If it's any outside gangs, maybe we could give him some info, but maybe not on the drugs, because what if they're involved in drug dealing, the people that he's around, right? So you can't really trust them there. So crime's out. So the police commissioner Can't know about any crimes for federal investigation. But now this is also an international police department now, like Eric Adams said. And this police commissioner has been overseas numerous times with buttoning up with foreign nations. Could he be trusted with national security issues? I say no. I don't think he's privy to anything. I really don't. Very limited information. There will be some things that he will have access to. I agree. But I don't even think it would be some aren't going to get shared with him. I think there's a lot of information that he's not getting shared right now. What do you think about
that? Did you play pretend as a kid? I played pretend. Most of the people here probably play pretend. So let's play pretend. And let's pretend that Ed Caban is actually the real police commissioner of the New York City Police Department. Let's play pretend and pretend that he's actually been leading this department throughout this past year while he was appointed as the police commissioner. So with that being said, if that were true and everything was in line and the lineage was in place as it should be when it comes down to a pyramid of leadership, Ed Caban cannot effectively lead in this position, even if he's free of all allegations. However, at this point, he's absolutely not absolved. The fact that his brother has a security detail paid for by the taxpayers of the New York City Police Department, the fact that his brother looks just like him, and the fact he's a former police officer who was convicted, and you cannot associate with someone who's a known criminal, that's department policy, that's complete official misconduct and corruption, and he cannot effectively police, especially with lacking information, which hurts the rank and file. What do we need to have an effective police department? We need lines of communication open. And if we do not have lines of communication open, if there's a breakdown of communication between the police commissioner down to the rank and file, that could be very dangerous for our boots on the ground. So the simple answer and the short answer to this is absolutely no. He cannot be an effective commissioner, and he must, not may, should, he must step down. Again, unselfishness is an important leadership trait, and it has to be mission first, then troop welfare. The mission should be to continue what's best for the police department and what's best for the city. Step down immediately.
So Patrick Donahue says, I believe Chief of Detective Joe Kenny and Chief Tobin were at the ceremony. Chief Kenny was pending a 9/11 line of duty funeral this past week. Only executives there from the department. Again, it's a disgrace. They don't run the New York City Police Department. I mean, most people don't even know who the Chief of Detectives is. I don't know if he was in uniform. I'm sure Chief Tobin was. I don't really know much about Chief Kenny. I know Chief Tobin. I actually do like her. I heard a lot of good things about Joe Kenny. I don't know him personally. And I mean, it's a disgrace that the upper echelon of the NYPD wasn't there. It was only them to represent the NYPD, and the mayor of New York City wasn't there. So I think that's a huge problem. And just to clarify, somebody had just texted me. So, if for anybody that's involved in this investigation that's looking to see where the meetings are happening, what's happening is they're meeting downstairs, 13th and 14th floor of One Police Plaza, Chief of Department's office, Chief of Patrol, Chief of whatever. Police Commissioner's office, all those floors, they're meeting down in the S level in the parking lot in One Police Plaza, and that's where they're holding their conversations inside the building, all the way down where you park inside of 1PP. So I would highly recommend you put a wire in there if you haven't already. So guys, you got to find the new spot. Sorry, but yeah, dude. I'm with you. I don't see how he doesn't back down today. But I mean, the thing is, let's say you're him. Let's say you're Police Commissioner Ed Caban, and either you've done something wrong or you've done nothing wrong. What's your thoughts now? Like, what are you gonna think? And what I'm relating this to is, there was a 30-year detective in the 6-6 precinct when the last scandal broke out. His name was Mike Malisi. And he was the first person everybody went after. He was supposedly on the plane with these developers and all this stuff. And he was like, I see what's going on here. You guys are all going to just point the finger at me and skate. I see what's going on here. I'm not talking to anybody. And so they terminated. 30 years on, he still kept his pension, but he didn't get a good guy letter, and he didn't because he was never charged or accused of any crime whatsoever. But he's like, I'm being made the fall guy. Whether Ed Caban is guilty or not, do you believe right now he feels that he's being made to be the fall guy?
Oh, to me, you know what? Listen, we don't know what's going on, what they're talking about at One Police Plaza because they're talking with their mouths covered right now. But based on my observations, what I see, and I can read a room, and so could you, John. It's clear to me the fact that he's not stepping down is exactly that. Saying, well, if I'm not going to step, I'm not going to step down because I'm not the only one implicated here. That's my assumption based on what I see, because to me, the indication there is the fact that Mayor Eric Adams at this point did not force him to, did not fire him and force him to leave is a huge indication to me. So we have twofold here, right? Eric Adams did not force him to leave, and he did not step down on his own volition. So to me, that's a huge indication that if there is teeth to this whole thing, that he has a lot of stuff under his chest, and there's a lot of people implicated, and it's not just Ed Caban. So absolutely that. And what did we say, though? What did we say a long time ago, John? We said this for 2 years right now. We said it even when Sewell was the police commissioner. And now we said if something goes down, she's going to take the fall. And we're saying it now. We said when Ed Caban became the police commissioner, Mayor Eric Adams is putting useful idiots in place. And we heard Ed Caban's a nice guy. I'm not saying he's not a nice guy. I don't know him well. I hear he's a nice guy. But I think he was put in that position to be the fall guy. And I think at this point he sees it and he's not taking it. That's what I see. I'd like to say also good morning to Chief Patrick Jordan, great friend to the podcast. He has his own podcast called Briefing with the Chief. Check him out. Really intelligent guy. Great perspective. Policing. He understands police work, how it works in the entire country. Patrick Jordan has a comment here. What does he say here? Secure. Can you see it, John? Let me see. Somebody's comments up to pick up. Let me see. Here we go. Security clearances are based primarily on trust. If your actions destroy that trust, you are no longer useful. That is great. That's exactly what we talk about. The appearance of impropriety. That is enough to have you lose your security clearance. I agree 100%.
Yeah. All right. So listen, let's we're gonna bring you any up-to-date topics that come up. If something pops off with New York City Police Department, we already know all the scandals, right? We know that they're enthralled in all these scandals. We're expecting a shakeup to happen at some point. Again, we were just talking about should Caban step down, shouldn't he, why he might not want to. End of the day, I think the entire upper echelon of the NYPD appears to be systemically corrupt. I believe they're all compromised. Whether they're guilty or not, there should be moves made. Problem is the mayor and all his appointees are all also tainted at this point, and they also appear to be dirty. However, any competent mayor should, if Ed Caban didn't step down, should have removed him by now. He should have been removed Monday morning. Should have been removed Monday. You're stepping down, dude. Give me a resignation. You can't properly go on. That didn't happen. Eric Adams is incompetent. He is not he's obviously not someone that could be trusted to make good decisions. So I think, at this point, we really do have a crisis of leadership in New York City. But while we wait for anything to come out, why don't we get into this Tyreek Hill body camera? Why don't we talk about this before this gets out? And I think everyone knows what's going on. It appears right now the New York City Police Department is a bunch of corrupt bastards. And we don't have any proof of that right now. But, they're having meetings in parking lots. police commissioner's brother was being driven around by paid security details. He started a nightlife consulting firm, apparently, supposedly, and they were doing shakedowns of clubs and installing their own people, taking care of summonses, making sure things didn't happen, and basically extortion, racketeering scam involving the police commissioner, the upper echelon of the NYPD, and many others. What do you think about talking about this body camera?
Oh, outstanding. Before we go into that, I just want to say that the last thing to put this to bed, Crazy 10-7 put a comment. I agree. Sewell is quite a bit sharper than Caban. She also didn't have a dirty brother that they held over her, so she was able to leave on her own accord. I do agree. She didn't have a dirty brother, so just I don't think she's implicated in this. John and I both believe that she left because she may be the mole in this. We haven't heard anything on that, but that's just the assumption. So let's switch gears. Let's get into this. Surprisingly, there hasn't been as much scrutiny as I thought there would. And obviously, because of what's going on right now, it's been a wild week. We got a corruption probe with the New York City Police Department, and we also have 9/11. So what I will say is, I'm really surprised on the mixed bag of emotions that I did hear from police officers in regards to this stop. So we could argue. Now, I had put out a post about this. It was a pretty lengthy post, and my perspective of this stop. Now, we could argue and we could debate. There is some context missing here, but from the onset of the body camera footage, we don't know if there's any. We don't know if there's any other infractions besides him not wearing his seatbelt. The operator, which is Tyreek Hill. We could argue the bedside manner of the cop as he approaches, but at this point, I think that's here nor there. The fact that the driver, Tyreek Hill, was refusing to roll his window down, especially since it's such dark tint, and especially in Florida, where Florida is gun country, is an extremely dangerous situation for the cop. So just on the onset, that creates an escalated situation for the cop. So let's start playing it and let's get into it.
All right, let's go. There was another video that came out prior to this, and it was somebody in a car, and you basically see it, but you couldn't really tell what the hell was going on. So I think this is the best video of what happened. This is Tyreek Hill Sunday. And I think we're going to be pretty hard on Tyreek, but I just want to get it out there for everybody. I am playing DraftKings tonight. I am playing the $1 Million Maker, the Millionaire Maker, $15 bet, first place $1 million. I do have Tyreek Hill. I don't have him as the captain, but I am playing him. So I don't suggest you take him out of your fantasy lineups or not use him if you're playing DraftKings. But I think that we'll get into that. But so this is the best video. Let's play it and get into it. Is the volume up? Yes, it is. All right, here we go.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Like what? Why do you have it up? Hey, keep your window down. Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. We'll break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. You do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out.
You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're a little fucking confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too late.
All right, bro. Take me to jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey.
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
Bro, y'all.
Don't move.
Good. Bro, you beating on my window like you crazy.
Just set them up.
Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for? Damn, yo, bro. Bro, dude beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin. Damn.
Hey, don't park there. Don't park there.
Hey. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew. Call Drew, bro. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro. Just call Drew. Hey. I'm not doing nothing. What am I doing that's wrong?
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen. Hey, man, they got Tyreek. The cops over here beating on him, man. They over here beating on Tyreek,
Listen,
man.
man. Don't park there, man. Just get in the car.
Hey, Drew, you gotta come, man.
Just get in the car.
Straight out the side, on the side of the
Hey, get in the car. You're parked in the middle of the street.
I'm in the car.
You gotta go before you get a ticket. Hey,
I'm
you're
not
in the car.
Who's the driver? This is my car.
All right, move.
All right, I'll take that.
You gotta move right now. Let me have your license. You're gonna have to get to. Let me have your license. You're gonna have to. Let me have your license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your license. Your license right now. Your license right now. You're not gonna give me your license.
Get in the car and leave.
You're not gonna give me your license.
I'm leaving.
Let me have your license. Your license right now. Hey, your license right now. Or I'm gonna lock you up. Your license right now. Your license right now. You're dealing with me now. Your license right now.
All righty then. What do you got?
Oh yeah. So first, I want to start. I want to read out the post that I put, a synopsis of the entire incident, and then we'll go more into detail. So, but just based on what we had initially, and of course the grumblings, and of course we have a response from Tyreek Hill. So this is what I said at this point. I just want to clarify that there are absolutely no underlying issues of race or bias based on the video presented. Furthermore, opinions are important, and we should welcome all to weigh in. However, let's be fair and assess the situation as a whole and not frame by frame. The reality of police work is based on Graham versus Connor, which is the measurement and metric of objective reasonableness test of logic based on real time in comparison to how other police officers of similar training and police experience and expertise would operate in that realm. We could argue the side manner of the cop from the initial dialogue. However, Tyreek Hill escalated the situation by refusing to keep his dark tinted window down as a courtesy and for the safety of the officer. Pennsylvania versus Mims is another Supreme Court case permitting an officer to order the operator out of the car and do a frisk to keep the officer safe and for tactical advantage. This car stop has become a media frenzy, and I stand with the cops on this stop. It appeared Tyreek Hill intentionally escalated the stop with a sense of entitlement. His posse stopping at the scene creates further tension and create a hazard situation, causing the officers to divert their attention. An officer's job is difficult and dangerous, and it never is a scene of one adversary, but rather one incident. Be safe, all. Let the court work things out and not the street. Let's keep communicating and not rush to judgment, and be fair and give the officers the benefit of the doubt on this stop.
All right, I'm gonna say right now that everybody on this scene is a fucking asshole. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm sorry. The cop is an overzealous douchebag. So you know, there's a lot of shit going on online, and of course, everybody's got to take a side. Everybody's, oh, I'm pro the cop. Oh, I hate fucking Tyreek Shepard. He was doing 180 miles an hour. We have the ticket.
You said Tyreek Shepard.
Whatever. Tyreek Hill, you know, Tyreek Hill was doing 65 and a 45. I don't think he pulled over right away either when they went to pull him over. So he's a douche. He's wrong, right? You know, you're flying in traffic, causing a dangerous environment. Obviously there was, I think, 4 motorcycle cops behind him pulling him over. So you could tell that took him a minute to pull over, right? That's what I'm seeing there. So totally escalates the situation. Should have just pulled over. Cop wasn't wrong on the initial approach at all. I don't see the cop being wrong at all. I mean, he's a little worked up. Obviously, you don't know who you're rolling up on. He's a little worked up at that point. Tyreek, I'm going to say Shepard again. Tyreek Hill talking to him like an idiot, completely escalates the situation, rolls the window up, which is a no-brainer. you're now getting pulled out of that car and you're getting put in handcuffs. Like, that's a no-brainer. You're endangering me. I don't know what's in that car. I don't know why you have that pulled up. Then the left starts with Tyreek Shepard got pulled out of the window. Tyreek Hill got pulled out of the window. I got Tyreek in my head today. But Tyreek Hill got pulled out of the window. Obviously, he did not get pulled out of the window. This car, the doors are airplane doors. They fly up. He opened the door came up. He took Tyreek Hill out of the car. He puts Tyreek Hill on the ground. He puts him in handcuffs. I have zero issue with anything that transpired initially. But right after that, the dude is completely hooked, the cop. He's completely hooked. Tyreek Hill is an absolute moron. He got pulled over because he's a moron. He got taken out of the car because he's a moron. He got handcuffed because he's a moron. All of these things he asked, please take me out of my car. Please put me in handcuffs. Is anything else he could have done to escalate the situation? No, there's not much else he could have did other than punch the cop or spit at the cop. There wasn't anything much else he could have did to escalate the situation. But now he's in handcuffs. He's standing up. You give him about 4 seconds to take a seat. I've been handcuffed before. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not too easy to have a seat with your hands behind your back. And he's not lying about the surgery, by the way. So that's where the situation goes haywire. And I completely see why this cop got put on leave. He was completely hooked and he was insane. And then the body camera ends, but he actually winds up handcuffing the other guy down the block.
All right, so I agree. That's why I said I agree that we could argue the demeanor of the cop. I think that he was acting like a complete idiot on the onset, and that could have been de-escalated. And that's why I said we have to look at this also as a whole and not frame by frame, because there is some stupidity that's going on behalf of the cops. But we also have to talk about the fact that Tyreek did escalate this. And that's why I believe also there is some context missing possibly of what happened before. Could there have possibly been not a chase, but necessarily did he stop right away? Because they seem to be on edge immediately as the stop was conducted. That to me was an indication that there might be some context missing. Again, we can argue his bedside manner. I think that his bedside manner could have been much better, and that possibly could have de-escalated the situation. But once he got to the point that he rolled up the window and created that dangerous situation, and they took him out, you can see that they really started to perk up. I don't agree at that point. I have no issues. They're using their command voices at that point. They're screaming loud. They're concerned. The window's up. They pull him out. They see someone that's is a large man. He's muscular. They take him out, and the window's up. This is Florida. There's a lot of firearms. So at this point, they take him out. And I agree with you. At that point, I do believe they got hooked. But unfortunately, that's why I say we have to look at this as a whole. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely. But Tyreek acted like an idiot. That's why it's important that we all weigh in and give our opinions and communicate. De-escalation is so important, and the cops do make mistakes. They're human. But I think at this point, when they get him in cuffs, it was under control. The bedside manner could have been better. When they do have him on cuffs, when they do have him on handcuffs on the side of the road, they are hooked at this point. That's why it would have been great at this point. And I say you're not just dealing with one adversary, you're dealing with one incident. That's why it would have been great to have other police officers at this point. That's why it's so important that we police each other. Other police officers at this point to identify that they're excited, they're hooked, to have them step aside, let them take a breather, and have other police officers take over the scene. And the fact that we started having family members and friends stop their car and divert their attention, that to me is also an indication that they may have, they were a little bit on edge. They had a couple of big guys there. There was a lot of people. They're now diverting their attention, looking back and forth. This may have been a bad location from my observation as from where they conducted the stop. I know it was close to the stadium. So this may have been in a place that, had a high amount of traffic. So it might have been a bad location for the stop, which leads me to believe that possibly they are overzealous. But that's why we have to look at this as an entire whole. Are they assholes? Yeah. There's cops that are assholes, and there's people that are stopped that are acting like assholes. They're both acting like assholes. I don't excuse them. I don't excuse them, But at the same token, we have to look at this as a whole. And as a whole, Tyreek escalated the situation and put this in a dangerous position. And that's why it's so important that we have masculine cops to police each other. We need police officers to step in at that point. They did the job. He rolled up the window. They're excited. They're nervous. They got him out of the car. They got him in handcuffs. And at this point, they're elevated. And sometimes cops lose themselves. It's not right. But that's why we need other cops at that point to step in and take over and let them cool down. And that's why it's so important that we police each other.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that I think that these cops all need a cool down period, because honestly, I agree that Tyreek Hill was an absolute moron, and everything they did, taking him out of the car, taking him to the ground, handcuffing him, I'm okay with all of it. I don't even care their bedside manner when they rolled up on the car, because you don't know what's going on at that moment in time. You're trying to make it safe. Tyreek, I guess you didn't get the talk. If you want, brother, give me a buzz. I'll give you the talk. My father gave it to me. A lot of our fathers gave it to us too. So, I think completely escalated the situation. I don't think he's had too much interaction with police in his life. You could tell, because if he's somebody like me, I would have been completely different. How you doing, officer? How's everything, with my hands like this and everything to see, because I don't want to get shot by some overzealous asshole like this, because these are the guys that can turn a situation bad. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, the other major fail, besides slamming him to the floor after he's already handcuffed and going nuts and asking him if he had surgery on his ears and flipping out, is when the car pulls over. Is it in a high traffic area? Yeah, it is. But it's a summons. It's a summons. He's nowhere near the arrest. He's nowhere near the arrest. And now at this point, you're a cop. You don't know that you have Tyreek Hill in handcuffs. You don't hear all the other players yelling at him. You don't realize that the dude that's in front of you, you're up to his waist, and there's no way that this dude is a normal person and he's not also a football player, stopping, worried about his teammate. And by the way, he's about 35 feet away from it, just on the phone. I get telling him to move the car, but that cop rushes over, and now he's so hooked, he escalates that situation. Right? So, and this is why cops have a bad name. And then what happens immediately? The circus. And we're going to get into all of it. We're going to get into the circus of, oh, this is how the cops treat a black man. No. Juan Perez is in Miami right now. Juan's on this chat. Juan, what's up, my brother? Enjoy Miami. I'm not coming down. Been there too much. My partying days are over, bro. Come by the suburbia of Florida where I'm at. We could chill. But he's down there right now. If Juan Perez does the same thing, former police officer, he's going to have a big problem. He's going to have the same exact problem that Tyreek Hill had. If he acts the same way that Tyreek Hill acts, he's going to have the same problem. If he sees Tyreek Hill getting arrested and he stops and he's 35 feet away and he's just like, hey, I just want to make sure what's going on. I'm just trying to find out what's going on. I got him on my fantasy lineup, or he's my team captain on DraftKings tonight. I just need to make sure I don't need to take him out of the lineup. Like, what's going on? He's going to get arrested by these guys too. So, I think overall, when we look at this situation, we could look at the problem in America is this. The public doesn't know how to interact with the police, and most police don't know how to interact with the public.
Well, that's why, hey, Juan Carlos Perez, my brother, have a great time, Miami. Enjoy yourself. You deserve it. This is the first time in a long time that he's actually able to have a clear head and enjoy his vacation. Enjoy, brother. Our heart is with you, brother. Seriously. Thank God you're standing proud here. So that's why I say you have to look at this as a whole. And because if we looked frame by frame, we could see numerous mistakes. But as a whole, on the onset, the cops were put in a bad position. But that's why it's so important, I say, that it's not one person we're dealing with, it's one incident. It would be extremely beneficial if there were other cops there that say, okay, you're excited. At this point, you were nervous. You were scared. To me, it appears they're scared. You got him out of the car. You got him in handcuffs. Your job at this point is done. Step aside, cool off. Let's let other cops handle it who are not emotionally attached to the situation. So that's where I do see a problem. That's the part I wanted to talk about. And I said that's why I didn't get to do, I gave a brief synopsis in my post and not go into further detail because it was just an introduction for this podcast. And that's why I say we have to keep communicating and give the officers the benefit of the doubt. And give them the benefit of the doubt that no matter what, Tyreek Hill is still safe. There's a lot of mistakes here. Do I think the cops should have some repercussions for that as administrative leave or modified? There should be something. I'm not sure if it should necessarily be administrative leave, but there should be something in place because it speaks volumes to me, right? There should be some type of corrective discipline, something, because there were mistakes made. And we do see that they get hooked. I mean, the way that he approached his friend that comes and stops the car, the way that he approached, he started escalating the situation because he kind of ran over. He's posturing his body. That wasn't the approach. Yes, is it a dangerous situation? Someone stopping there, you have to divert your attention. But yes, as police officers, we are used to using our profile vision, okay, and we're used to operating on a plane where we have to canvass an area. So, at the same time, we do need other officers there. But I will say this. It leads me to believe, John, is what else is going on with – forget about Tyreek. Let's talk about these police officers here. What is going on that maybe could have been done with these police officers to prevent this from happening? That's why I would say we got to put the failure on leadership. Is it possible that these police officers are working, they're overworked? Maybe they're tired. Maybe they were just involved in an incident. That's what I'm saying. What is going on with these police officers that they got hooked? That's what we need to look into, because they don't look like rookies to me. They look like they're experienced veteran police officers. To look into why did this escalate? Do they have interactions normally with football players or people at this location that are not in compliance? I mean, something happened that got them to that level. I'm not making an excuse for it, but something happened that we need to identify so it doesn't happen with them or other police officers. And that's my point, that we don't have real leadership to intercept these things, to evaluate police officers. Is there trauma? What issues? Because something going on that they got so excited. There has to be something going on.
Listen, we're all human. Every single one of us is human. But these dudes needed a timeout. Now, I don't know the Miami procedures. I don't know what their discipline. It might be leave. Most departments is if you get in trouble, it's not like a CD. It's leave. So I don't know the procedures. I don't know, it could be as easy as they're on a foot post for a month. You know what I mean? You got to get humbled a little bit. You got to realize what's going on. Because like you said, at the end of the day, nothing happened, but it could have happened. It could have happened. And it's possible that you get hooked. I mean, to what I see is I see dudes that are doing traffic, they're highway cops. They experienced a lot of trauma. They work by themselves normally. And I always question anybody who works by themselves. I always said that, if you're on a place where you're paired up with people, but yet you choose to not want to work with anybody, that shows me something right there. Something there. If you hone in on traffic, there's always that type of air of, I'm up here and I'm going to traffic. If you commit any traffic violation, you're a criminal. I don't care if you're an 86-year-old grandmother. I don't care if you just got back from Iraq. I don't care if you're an active police officer. I don't care anything about you. I don't care who you are, what you are. If you're a good person or not, I'm going to treat you like you're a piece of garbage. And I hate that demeanor. And that's the demeanor that I see from this dude. But what happens is all of the other cops don't intervene. I'm not going to lie. There's been times I've been hooked. There's times I wanted to punch someone in the face or do something to them when they were handcuffed. There's times that these thoughts entered my brain. I didn't do it. And part of the reason is that I could always thank that I was around other people that could see when I lost it and pull me out of the situation. All right. Stepped in. You go get back there. And check me. And that's what didn't happen here to avoid all of this. That dude was revved up. He was fired up. He made the situation worse. And now it's a big media scandal, right? Everyone, you got all the right wingers. He was doing 180 miles an hour. No, he wasn't. Here's the ticket. 60. I can't even read it right now. I tried to read it. I think it's 65 miles an hour in a 45. A lot of traffic going into a stadium. I mean, that's fast, dude. You could kill somebody. You could kill a cop. You could kill a person walking on the street. I'm not excusing what he did, and I'm not saying he should get off of the ticket. I'm not saying any of those things. But if he would have acted like a gentleman, he would have never raised up the cop. But if the cop is so triggered like that, off of somebody giving him an attitude, dude, what is he going to do in New York City? He can't even be on a foot post in New York City because he's going to get triggered like that. How many times in a day, in an 8 hour, 35-minute shift? That dude's going to get triggered. He's going to have a heart attack and be dead, the cop. Or he's going to shoot somebody or beat them or do something ridiculous. Like the guy had a he snapped like this. He snapped like this. Is Tyreek Hill Shepard? To me, Tyreek Shepard Hill, excuse me. Is he a moron? Absolutely. He's never had any interaction with the cops. So we'll listen to everything he's going to say about that. But that interaction alone shows me he has zero experience with the cops. He's not hood. He has no idea what he's doing. The other dude that was out of the car, the big dude that was 6'6", he knew what was up. And he wasn't being an idiot with the cop. You could tell he has dealt with the cops before. He's like, what the hell is going on here? But he wasn't trying to raise the cop up at all.
So again, I want to reiterate this, right? We have to look at this as a whole, not frame by frame. And unfortunately, because of video, we have surveillance video in this day and age, cell phone video, body cam video, and things are looked at frame by frame, right? Let's look at Juan Perez. Juan Perez, a brother that's on here right now, he was attacked by an emotionally disturbed perpetrator. He did everything right. The perpetrator was choking him. And what happened with his cases, they looked at it frame by frame and didn't look at as a whole. They said, well, these 3 punches you deployed, they're good, but these 3 punches are not. Now, that my analogy, though, Juan, I support Juan because he did everything right. But my analogy, though, is just to show that we are now dissecting things frame by frame. Did the cops make mistakes here? Absolutely. Did anything really happen? No. So the point is we have to dissect this on how to correct these cops, because clearly they're experienced, they're veterans, but we have to find out why. That's why I say opposition meets opportunity, because we have to find out what is going on, what's in their head, because your head is 90% of what you're doing. What's in their head that got them to this point? Why were they so excited? Because, yes, his bedside manner was not good on the onset. But why? Was he having a bad day? Is he having issues? Does he already need a timeout? Does he need a vacation? Is he overworked? Is he having issues at that location? We don't know. And I'm not making excuses. But that's where it's so important to have leadership in an organization to identify these things so we don't get to this point. Because, God forbid, what if this did turn out something bad? We'd have another story. These police officers could potentially be facing prosecution, and God forbid we could lose Tyreek Hill. That's not what we want here. That's the ultimate goal, is to have an interaction where the police do not get hurt, and also the adversary, the person of interest. So, again, we have to look at this as a whole. There are mistakes made, but can they be corrected? I agree. I don't think administrative leave is always the answer. But unfortunately, you're right. For some police departments, there is no other avenue. Unlike the police department, the NYPD, we have other forms of discipline, right? You could be standing on an island by yourself. There's other ways to have corrective discipline. So that's what I think they need. They need, again, we talk about mental health. I think mental health, if they have a mental health and wellness, needs to speak to them and find out what's going on in their head to prevent a further incident, and to help other police officers to identify what's going on with them. If there's trauma, address it. Whatever the issue is, if they need discipline, then give them discipline. Absolutely. Now, I also want to say that, this is in my head when I'm thinking about mental health, is that stigma going to go away so we can actually help these cops? So I'm just going to add one more thing also, John. I went to Hurricane Katrina with the NYPD, and I was there for about 3 weeks. And I learned that the police officers police very different in the South. I'm not excusing it, but there is no police department like the NYPD that shows the extreme amount of restraint that we do and they continue to do. and they police much more aggressively in the South. I'm not saying it's right, but that is kind of the nomenclature. So that is something that needs to change going forward, because especially right now they're under more scrutiny with these body cameras. So that I did observe.
Yeah, so all right, so we got 882 people in here. Appreciate everybody for joining. Obviously, main focus is NYPD corruption. We're talking about the Tyreek Hill incident now. If anything else breaks, we'll bring it to you. We'll stop what we're talking about and we'll bring it to you. If any news comes out of One Police Plaza or anything further in this corruption scandal, we do have some stuff that we will close with to further talk about New York City and that. But right now we're talking about the Tyreek Hill body camera video that came out, and our thoughts around that, what happened, and now we're going to get into the aftermath of that. I have right up on the screen right now, I have one of Tyreek Hill's teammates. I'm going to show you the media circus this has turned into. We're going to bring you that. And, if you guys could just do us a favor, if you like what you're seeing, if you could subscribe, if you're on social media, if you could share it out. For those of you that are on X, for some reason, our Rumble stream went down today. I have no idea why, but Rumble went down. But for those of you on X, if you do want to chat with us, please do it in the live chat. If you're just messaging in the tweet, if you respond to the tweet, we don't see it. If you want to be in the live chat, you got to make sure that you're in the live chat. So appreciate all of you that have joined here today. So we'll bring up this, but I just want to, before I bring up the teammate, I just want to go back on something you said. Like, I truly think I'm not. There are corrective measures that need to be taken, and I agree with you. We need to get to the root causes of what police officers face and how things get out of hand like that to prevent it in the future. But that cop is a danger to the public. That cop is a danger to the public. He needs a timeout, dude. He needs some type of corrective discipline because he's not going to learn. I could tell just by his attitude, a good talking to by a sergeant is not going to correct that situation. Tyreek Hill was an absolute moron all the way through the stop, all the way through the end. I'm not going to lie. At every point in that stop, Tyreek Hill was a moron, but cops got to be better than that. Cops got to be better than that. You cannot get hooked. That dude's a danger to the public. He needs some corrective discipline. And just what I saw alone, he's a complete danger. He was a danger to the other guy that stopped 35 feet away. You're allowed to film the police. You're allowed to observe what's happening. If you're going to give me a ticket, give me a ticket. You don't have to approach me like I'm a maniac and come running from 35 feet away like you're going to and throw me in handcuffs, which, by the way, he also did. It just didn't show on the body camera. So, I think, and now the police get demonized, right? Now this is like this is a George Floyd light moment in policing and Black America. And it's the furthest thing from that. It's Tyreek Hill's a moron, doesn't know how to deal with the cops. And the cop is a moron, doesn't know how to deal with people, right? He obviously, he seems like he's a veteran, but he seems like he doesn't have much experience dealing with people. He's overzealous. And, I'm saying right now, no cop should be interacting like that. I know that we're more restrained in the New York City Police Department, but it's because we follow the law, we follow the Constitution. We understand that we're members of the public. And when you're acting like that, you're not acting like a member of the public. You're acting like you are the law. Dude, you are not the law. Police officer, you are not the law. You're enforcing the law, right? And there has to be some type of bridge. And again, like, once to make the situation safe, I have no problem with taking him out of the car. I have no problem with throwing him on the floor and putting him in handcuffs. It's all the stuff after that this dude appears to be completely unhinged. Completely unhinged. And I agree with the corrective discipline. I 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I said I don't believe he needs administrative leave. And again, like you said, some police departments don't have any other avenue. He absolutely needs a timeout. But with that timeout, there has to be something. There has to be some intervention. We need mental health, if they have a mental health and wellness, to find out what's the root cause, what's going on in his head. Absolutely, he's unhinged. I don't think a police officer should be acting like that at the end. Absolutely. That's why I gave a synopsis. We're going to get detail when it comes to this. Because absolutely, if this escalated any further, then something bad could have happened. Ultimately, nothing really happened. But this turned into a media frenzy. But maybe this is a blessing that this turned into a media frenzy to save this cop's life, because if something happens and he gets out of hand, he can lose his life and unfortunately take the life of someone else. He can lose his life because he ends up in jail, but he can take the life of someone else. But again, we're not condemning him because they're both assholes, which they are. But we're condemning him because he's a police officer. He's a professional. He's supposed to act a certain way. I see a veteran police officer. He looks like he has time on the job. For him to act like that again says what the hell is going on in his head. And again, it goes back to what I've been saying. Where is the leadership? I find it hard to believe that this is the first time that he's acting in this manner, that he gets so emotionally invested to the point that he can't even see straight. Because again, his approach to the car that arrived to, the friends clearly was escalating, because at that point he could say, "Hey, buddy, listen, I know you're concerned about your friend. Just give us a moment. We'll address you." That could have de-escalated the situation. But when he started walking over, I don't know if it was like a small man syndrome. These were big guys. Maybe that kind of escalated a bit. I'm just making an observation. But what's ultimately the problem, what I see with law enforcement is, okay, they'll put him on a post. They'll give him leave, and then they'll put him back. But there's nothing in place. There's no real conversations to find out what's going on in his head so this doesn't happen again. And terminating him, I don't think, is the answer. Because if you just terminate him, does that actually change anything? Sure, y'all, but I appreciate that's what we want from our friends and listeners to the podcast. You do not have to agree with everything we say. That's why we have to have these conversations. We have to communicate to make us better. Sherry said, "I'm going to disagree, Eric. The very first frame set the whole ball rolling. This is where the switch in electricity and chemicals play, maybe even before." I agree. That's why I said we could argue the bedside manner. It started already escalated situation, but Tyreek didn't make it any better. So I'm glad the police officers were safe, and so is he. There's things that we could rip apart here, but ultimately we need to find out what's going on in their head. We need measures in place, and it falls on leadership. Leadership, as I always say.
Easy. Thank you for letting everyone know who we are. Yes, we're both retired lieutenants. Eric Dim, most complained cop. John McCarry. Yes, I did retire out of the facilities management division. I appreciate it, sir. Actually, it's funny. Everybody's asking what the hell's going on with viral news as well. Why he's attacking us, not to get off the subject. I have no idea why he's attacking us. He's bootlicking. He actually put out that I moved to Florida and I started a taxi service in Florida. He's correct. We were actually, we won neighborhood transportation service 2 years in a row. So I appreciate you guys putting out information that everyone already knows. I don't know what that is, but thank you for joining. We appreciate you being on here, Easy Cameras. Feel free to weigh in your thoughts anytime. And let's get in. Let's hear what the teammate has to say. Here's where the media circus starts. And honestly, this is the shit that pisses me off, because now it's like, all right, yeah, the cop was an asshole. Yes, he needs corrective measures taken. Yes, Tyreek Hill was an asshole, but no one's gonna say it. Now Tyreek Hill's the victim. Now, because he's a black man, it had nothing to do that he rolled his window up and he was going to be a complete loser. The whole car style had nothing to do. Nothing had anything to do with that. It was all because of the color of his skin. And here's where the media circus starts. I didn't play this video prior. I don't know what this dude said. So let's see. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play Tyreek Hill. I'm going to play the coach. Let's see what this dude says.
Going on before the game. Yeah, that was crazy. I was stretching and I seen on the TV, bro got arrested. And then I seen the clip, cop kicked him or something like that. It was crazy. So that's got to get handled. You know what I'm saying? Excessive force on a black man, that's not uncommon. It's a very common thing in America, so I think that needs to be addressed at a countrywide level. So yeah, I don't think that shit is cool at all. But it's not unnatural or not uncommon for cops to do that type of shit, especially the black man. So that needs to be addressed, for sure.
It's funny. I kind of knew what he was going to say, and I never even watched this. What do you think about that, Eric?
Again, dude, that's why I post this. I mean, I hate when we start making this a race issue. I mean, just because you want to assume it's a race issue, I'm not saying that. Listen, I'm not saying that there aren't cops out there that are racist. Not in the NYPD, and not in the NYPD, the most diverse police department. I can't speak for other police departments, and I'm sure there's not a high level of racism either. But I can speak for the NYPD. there is very little to no racism. I never worked with anybody that was racist. I can tell you right now. I never worked with a white guy or a black guy or a Hispanic guy that was racist against.
I work with a couple of racist black guys.
You did? I honestly, I racist against other blacks or whites?
Against whites.
Yeah, I never. I mean, thank God, I'm fortunate. Maybe they were just afraid to tell me. I never worked with anybody that was racist. I mean, you know, even though I was in the Marine Corps, they were told there's no color here. There's two colors, dark green and light green. That's it. We're all one. And I think it's the same thing in the police department. I was very fortunate. I didn't work with anybody that was racist. Like I said, at least maybe they were afraid to tell me. But in this particular incident, there's absolutely no indication of race. Absolutely, I don't see a race issue. To me, I mean, the guys looked like they were Hispanic. I couldn't tell. I mean, it looks pretty diverse to me. I mean, Miami has a huge Hispanic population. I don't see any indication of race at all. I just see cops that were overzealous. And I want to know why, what's in their head, but I don't believe it's because they're racist. I think there's a lot, there's other stuff going on. Like I said, maybe they were overworked, or maybe they just, maybe they were nervous because he's a muscular big guy. And I don't know. I mean, it started off already. He was a little high tense, so maybe something else is going on in his life, but clearly nothing to do with black and white or black and Spanish. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I just want to say I love Corn Pop. I always look at her stuff in the feed. Corn Pop, love you. All right, hit me up. No, I'm only kidding. I'm married, Corn Pop. I'm married, but
oh, now I know Corn Pop's a girl. Hey, Corn Pop, listen. I just want to let you know, Corn Pop, I am an advocate for Second A. I know she thinks I don't agree with Second Amendment. I believe you should have your firearm, but I believe from a martial artist, someone who trains, you should have it concealed because it's to your benefit. But so I do believe you should.
He's anti-2A. He just admitted it, Corn Pop. I'll replay it for you. He just admitted it.
Well, now I know. Now I know it's a woman. But hey, Corn Pop, thank you so much.
He just admitted it. You're right. He's wrong. I'm with you, Corn Pop. All right. So listen. Here's the statement from the Miami Dolphins. We are saddened by the overly aggressive and violent conduct directed towards Tyreek Hill, Khalees Campbell, and Jonnu Smith by police officers before yesterday's game. It is both maddening and heartbreaking to watch the very people we trust to protect our community to use such unnecessary force and hostility towards these players. Yet it's also a reminder that not every situation like this ends as peace, as we are grateful this one did. What if it wasn't Tyreek Hill? Is a question that will carry a resounding impact. We are proud to have a strong and positive relationship with the Miami-Dade Police Department and other law enforcement agencies, and recognize that the vast majority of officers do serve the community with the utmost character and desire to protect all citizens. However, as it's on full display in the videos released tonight, there are some officers who mistake their responsibility and commitment to serve with misguided power. While we commend MDPD for taking the right and necessary actions to quickly release the footage, we also urge them to take equally swift and strong action against the officers who engaged in such despicable behavior. We will stand behind Tyreek and our players as they work to use their platform in this situation to make a positive impact in our community. We always have believed that the game of football holds a unique power to bring people together, and we remain hopeful that through the collective work of the players' organization and community partners, we can create lasting change. So here's my huge problem with the statement is, we sat here, we said there needs to be corrective action taken towards the police department, right? 100%. There needs to be corrective discipline taken towards that officer. But what about Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill's innocent in this? Tyreek Hill did nothing wrong. There's no corrective action. They stand with everything that Tyreek Hill did. So don't pull over, speed, don't pull over, don't follow any rules, escalate the situation, roll your window up, make sure the cop has to take you out of the car and handcuff you. Is that that's what you stand with, Miami Dolphins? That's what the Miami Dolphins are standing with? They're standing with I agree with all the other parts of it after Tyreek Hill's in handcuffs. Then I understand it. But to instantly go to race, to instantly go to, the cops were all the ones at fault? No. Everyone on that scene was a moron. Not the guy that got handcuffed pulling over. I honestly think he did nothing wrong other than he was blocking traffic. Give him the blocking traffic ticket. That's it. but I think, to go instantly to race. And again, racism to me, it's not something that's inherent in you. It's just because you're a moron. It's because you don't have enough life experience, and it's complete ignorance. It's not because you truly hate white people or you truly hate black people. It's because you don't have life experience and you're not thinking. You're not using your brain and you're ignorant. That's what racism is at the end of the day. And there's, I've encountered a lot of ignorant people in my life.
We're kind of ignorant people. And ignorance is not bliss either. I'll say this. I didn't work with any racist police officers. Thank God. But then again, I was a special operations lieutenant, anti-crime sergeant. I had small teams. There were black guys, white guys, Spanish guys. We were all together. I mean, we were a family. I never felt like I was working. I always felt like I was with family. I love being at work. These guys really were my family. I still love them today. These guys would put their life on the line for me. I would put my life on the line for them. They would put their life on the line for the community. But what you're saying is true. We need education. And where I did see a level of racism and prejudice and bias is when I volunteered a lot of my time for the NYPD Explorer program. And some of our friends and listeners that are on the podcast who know me know I spent a lot of time. I created a boxing program for the NYPD Explorers at Police Service Area 7. I created a self-defense program. I had some people volunteer and were tutors to help these kids in school. I went to some of these kids' Sweet 16s. I really became to love these kids. And none of these kids were white. They were all black and Hispanic. And sometimes I would meet, I'll never forget, in one incident in particular, we had a 13-year-old girl. And she started the program. And she would always kind of look at me funny, and she wasn't very comfortable around me with the group. So I remember talking to the kid one day. I said, what's going on? I tried to get to know these kids. I did sports with them. I taught them the basics of law enforcement. Really, I helped out with the boxing program and defense. And some of these kids got really good, especially the girls. They got really good. So I said, hey, what's going on? She said, you know what? I'm not used to dealing with somebody who's white. And I said, oh, okay, that's no problem. And I was told that white cops are bad. And it really hurt me to see this from this kid. Ron Layson says, and they loved you, Eric. You were a great role model for them. Thank you so much. I took a lot of time. I still speak to these kids now. And some of these kids are actually in the military, and some of them are actually police officers now. And I'm super proud of them. And I got to, and this kid, unfortunately, this is what this kid was told. This kid grew up. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault. I was the evil white man because this is what she was told. And sure enough, I speak to this kid still today. She has a love for me. Her complete ideology changed because she got to be around white cops and saw a different perspective. And it's a shame that's what she was taught. So it starts when everyone's young. That's why I said we need this in school. We need to educate. We need a course on how we should deal with law enforcement so that as we grow, because kids will become cops, and some of those cops have to know how to treat people, and people have to understand how to treat cops. We have to work together. We have to communicate. And this is the start right here. This podcast, the friends, our listeners, disagreeing, agreeing. That's what we need to do. That's how we come together. But if we let our egos get involved and get upset, oh, someone said they don't like what I said, or they don't like the way I do things, how can you get better? And I always ask myself this question. How can I be better today than yesterday? How can I be better tomorrow than today?
Yeah, so All Bad, 1999 donates to the podcast. He says, alert, COVID variant on the rise. The Juju variant is primarily transmitted via an ass, baton, fist, micro P injection in the fat ass Kaz. The Cabana boys will be doing free jabs and boosters at the cone of Fritos. All bad. Thank you, my friend. Juju, don't get too butthurt. It's only a joke. It's all right. Kaz, we're hearing some rumors. Does your wife have a category 1 take-home car supplied to her by Craylo? I don't know. Just asking. We don't know, but that's what those are the rumors we heard. Juju, if you could let us know, please, we'd appreciate you. Thank you. So let's get into the next thing. All right. I want to bring up the Miami coach. Let's see what Miami coach has to say about the situation. We just read the statement out. He's like a young dude. Everybody likes this guy. Everybody's talking about him. Oh, it's good. We got some youth in here. Let's see. Is he woke? I don't know. About to find out right now.
In that situation that
Hold on. Here we go.
It's been hard for me not to find myself more upset the more I think about it. And that's because of, my teammates and trying to put myself in that emotion or in that situation that they've described emotionally. And then knowing more than that, I think the thing that fucks me up, honestly, to be quite frank, is knowing that I don't know what that feels like.
Wait, is he crying, dude?
I was thinking the same. I'm just curious. Did you watch this yet, or this is your first
No,
time watching?
I never watched this.
Oh, because I didn't see it either, and I can envision what he's going to say. I think he's crying too. AJ put here, that's hysterical. Mark Anthony, the Miami coach, is crying. There's no crying in football. He does look like Mark Anthony a little bit.
I'm sorry. I was just I'm gonna replay that because I think he's crying. Hold on one second. I'm gonna replay this.
It's been hard for me not to find myself more upset the more I think about it. And that's because of, my teammates and trying to put myself in that emotion or in that situation that they've described emotionally. And then knowing more than that, I think the thing that fucks me up, honestly, to be quite frank, is knowing that I don't know what that feels like. I think it's very, very important that that two things should be true. That I think you let due process work and information to be gathered to appropriately project an opinion. However, that I can't get away from the fact of what I know their experience to be, and you try to put yourself if I'm Calais Campbell and I'm 38 years old, and you're going to work, and then
oh yeah, he's crying. Oh yeah, tears are coming.
Whatever personal innocence that you have relative to
how much longer this
never
shit?
had. Yeah,
this is amazing. We got to listen to this.
Oh my god,
strong, just miraculous man that has done right in all way, shapes, and forms, and there's just elements to that's very triggering. But I do think that it's supremely important to wait for information to be gathered before any rush to judgment. But regardless, I know the feelings expressed to me are not are unsettling. So it's but two things did come from the adversity. Super proud of teammates being teammates, and super proud of our guys understanding.
Is he on drugs?
The civic responsibility of a platform, and intending to do right by it.
Okay.
I could follow up on that. We've heard all summer how close this team has been. To see two not only just teammates, but new teammates, and John and Calais stop and come to his aid. I got to imagine that's a pretty powerful coaching moment for you.
It's what you hope your team is comprised of. You know, situations that you can't plan for sometimes give you the best window into, you know, where your team's at. I'm very proud that they see each other as teammates and hold that in regard the way they do. You know, it's you spend as much time, you are so
Yeah, Mike.
I said, all right, that was enough of that, but that was absolutely amazing. So he's crying. He doesn't know how it feels. He's inferring racism play. He's inferring that Tyreek Hill wasn't stopped because he was speeding. He wasn't taken out of the car because he was a moron. He's inferring that this is all being done by race. Listen, I've been to Miami a lot. I used to go down there all the time. Very diverse department. It's probably more diverse than the NYPD, right? It's made up of all different people. Yes, there are Cubans there. Yes, there's blacks. Yes, there's whites. There's everyone and their mother works down in Miami. It's just like New York. Miami's New York City with a beach, and it's a lot hotter. That's all Miami is. So, you know, to me, I mean, it's an absolute joke to infer race. You know, and like we're talking about the Tyreek Hill incident. We got 959 people in here. We will bring you any up-to-date stuff that comes out as far as New York City corruption and the NYPD corruption scandal that has elapsed. We haven't had anything new as of yet. We will bring in some articles from yesterday and things of that nature. But, yeah, 100%. The cops were wrong in the aftermath after they had already handcuffed Tyreek Shepard. All up until that point, the cops did absolutely nothing wrong. All up until that point, the cops did absolutely nothing wrong. But none of this is involving race. But their 30-year-old, 8-year-old woke coach is crying. Just had a press conference and was crying about it.
I'm so sick of this virtual signaling because that's all this is. This is virtual signaling like, hey, listen, at the BLM out there, yeah, we agree. This is all racist. There is no issues. There is no underlining issues of racism here. It's crap. Here could have been his press conference. First of all, I worked in the Lower East Side. This guy looks like he's tweaking. Honestly, this guy is high. Gigi said it too. Gigi made a comment here, said this guy's high. This guy is definitely, look at him. First of all, he looks like a crackhead. But it could have been this simple. Listen, my guy acted like an asshole. The cops did their job. I'm glad they're safe. They acted like a little bit of an assholes. Nobody got hurt. Can we work together? Can we communicate? That could have been the end. It could have been that simple. But this whole thing of putting on these fake tears, oh my God. This is what we need to hear from a grown man. This is your coach. This is the football coach. This is what the NFL is. You know, no longer do we have masculine men. This is the NFL. Well, I can tell you that's why I don't watch the NFL much anymore. But this is all bullshit. The fact that they want to imply race and try to somehow inject racism into this. Do we see any indication? Listen, that's why I'm saying, John, let's give the cops the benefit of the doubt on a lot of the issues here. Were they assholes? Yes. But are they racist? No. Not at all. There's no indication that these guys are racist. They're assholes? Yeah. Do they need some corrective discipline? Do they need some timeout? Absolutely. But we're making this much bigger than what it is.
First of all, how is this dude a football coach? He doesn't even look like he ever even did a push-up in his life. He's 38 years old. Like, I got to find out this dude's name.
He might be. I didn't know and I was thinking, actually, you know what's funny? With this whole DI movement, I was thinking the only one that hasn't been affected by it was professional sports. But apparently, professional sports must be affected by DI also, because this guy clearly he looks like he's not suitable to be a coach. You know, is he the first crackhead to be an NFL coach? Maybe that's what this is when it comes to DI. Because this guy, does he look like this guy played a day of any sport? He looks like he's been in a crack pipe.
So, all right. So this is what I got. Mike Lee McDaniel, born March 6, 1983, is an American professional football coach who's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins of the National Football League, a former longtime assistant and descendant of the Shanahan coaching tree. McDaniels began his NFL career as an intern for the Denver Broncos in 2005. McDaniel served as an assistant coach for the Houston Texans, the Washington Redskins, the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, the San Francisco 49ers from 2017 to 2021. Holding his first offensive coordinator position in 2021. McDaniel has appeared in Super Bowl with Falcons in 2017 and Super Bowl with the 49ers in 2020 as an assistant coach alongside Kyle Shanahan. March 6, 1983. Guess where he's from? Aurora, Colorado. And he went to Yale. This dude went to Yale from 2001 to 2004. They got him listed as 5'9", as 180. Corn Pop, would you date this guy? That's what inquiring minds want to know. But I'll tell you right now, this dude, I don't even think this dude played touch football or flag football. I never mind any other.
Well, I'd say
so I don't think DEI is real. I agree. I'm going to agree with Juju on here. White privilege is real, and that's what this shit is.
Corn Pop is not dating him if he's against the Second Amendment. I can tell you that right now. She's not concerned with what he looks like and how tall he is. But she did say no.
Gigi says he looks high. Someone else said he looks like he smoked a blunt. I honestly, there's something wrong with him. Like you can't be this upset because your play is a moron. It should have been like, Tyreek could have did say, you messed up a little too there, Tyreek. You did. You would have never escalated. You should have just kept your mouth shut. Told him you were late to the game. Apologized. You would have went on your way. You would have went on your merry way, even if you would have got a ticket. None of that stuff would have escalated. If the cop was an idiot, you could file a complaint later. Definitely don't roll your window up on a car stop. Definitely don't do that. Not a good look. And
especially
he's lucky
in Florida, brother. Especially in Florida.
Well, especially in Florida, you'll get shot. I mean, you could get shot in Manhattan too. I mean, you're creating a very dangerous hazard. Very dangerous hazards. So, all right, that was the head coach. Let's just hear Tyreek Hill, and then let's go back to New York City. So, where's Tyreek Hill? Here's Tyreek Hill.
Not Tyreek Shepard? Tyreek
Shepard Hill. Tyreek, I'm giving you a lot of credit here. Tyreek Shepard has about a bigger head as Tyreek Hill does too. He thinks. Remember this was the dream team, now turned the Gotham Brothers. So let's hear from Tyreek Hill. We'll wrap it up, and then let's go back over to New York City. All right, here we go. Here's Tyreek Hill. Let's see what he's got to say. CNN, baby, right on there.
You just tweeted a moment ago. You said, "Let's make a change." What did you mean by that?
Right. So, I'm a good old country boy from South Georgia, man. Like I'm not a big believer in dividing people. I don't believe in all that, man. I believe in bringing people together, because that's my purpose in life. I do football camps all across the world, man, trying to bring different people together, different kids, different parents, because we in this together, baby. Like we on this earth together. We got to live together. So when I say let's make a change, let's do it together. So Miami PD, really all officers across the world, man, because one officer doesn't, like make the whole group look bad. Like everybody has bad apples, every team has bad apples. It's my job to use my platform and my resources, so that way I'm able to align, with these different stations. So that's what I mean when I say let's make a change. Like, because we done tried it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, we done protest. We even took a knee. We done did walks. Like, so what's next? So right now, me and my wife, we right now brainstorming on how can we be a part of this change?
Oh, my God.
What do you think about that?
Listen, clearly he was coached on what to say. He's not taking any accountability, responsibility for his actions. He completely turned this into a race thing. He sounds racist himself by saying we have to we have to come together. And he's not talking about we, the cops and the people. He's talking about we, black people. So it's clearly racist, totally discriminatory. He seems totally coached on what he's saying here, not taking any accountability, responsibility. Talking about bad apple cops. Yeah, they're bad apple cops. Are we necessarily those cops? Are we saying those cops are bad apples? I'm not saying that. It's initially they did their job. They got them in cuffs. They were a little tense. We could argue that, yeah, that part they do need some work on some de-escalation. Get them some martial arts training to relax, calm down. The end of it, okay, they were a little rough. Nobody got hurt, but he's not taking any accountability responsibility. That doesn't mean these cops were bad apples. That just means there was mistakes that need to be fixed. But this virtual signaling back to race, I'm tired of this crap. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, so Tyreek, brother, listen, I'm not taking you out of my lineup tonight. You're gonna be in my DraftKings lineup. I don't do fantasy, but I do daily fantasy. I recommend if you guys like betting. Even though I didn't watch football, I keep track of it. I keep track of the stats through DraftKings, and I see how players do. Tyreek Hill is one of the top players in the NFL. Fortunately, that gives him a huge platform. So, Tyreek, I could tell you're a country boy. I could tell you're not from the hood. And I could tell you got no experience dealing with the cops. And I'm going to tell you right now, the cop was a complete asshole. You escalated the situation. You're now using your platform to make yourself out to be the victim, which you're not, because you escalated the entire situation. What you should have done is pulled over, been polite, even if the guy was an asshole, rolled your window down, keep it down, follow instruction, keep your hand on your steering wheel, shut the car off, turn your radio off, make the cop feel comfortable. Because like my father once told me, these guys are at work, they're scared, some of them are cowards, and they will shoot you. They will shoot you. Not because you're a black man, but because you're a man. Because they're afraid of you. Whatever the reason is. Even if it is because you're a black man. Whatever it is, don't give the cops a reason to shoot you. And honestly, what you're doing now and what you just said is projecting to the entire world and to our youth to act the same way you did and then expect to have the same consequences that you have. And I got news for you, brother. It's not going to be. They're not going to get the Miami Dolphins coming to bat for him. They're not going to have your little woke, wimpy coach going up on stage crying for them. And guess what? They wouldn't even have got out of the precinct with a summons that night. So, I mean, the whole thing is off. Shame on anyone who's pushing this narrative and not saying that Tyreek Hill was an absolute moron and escalated the entire situation and then encountered two cops. This is a learning moment. This is a learning moment for America that everyone needs to de-escalate. De-escalation is not just the duty of the police officer. It's also the duty of the person being stopped. And yes, we should hold our officers to a higher standard, and they should have more of a duty to de-escalate than everyone else, which is why I'm saying these guys need a timeout. These guys need a talking to. They need some corrective action taken. And if there's not, then they need to be removed from a police department. Because what I saw from those cops after Tyreek Hill was in handcuffs is I saw them further escalate the situation. Tyreek Hill hooked them because he's a moron, doesn't have much experience dealing with the cops. Because I could tell any New York City kids, any LA kids, any Chicago kids, they ain't acting like that with the cops, bro. You know what I mean? And this kid, he got no street experience. So you guys on his team, you should school him down. And then Tyreek, use your platform to stop dividing people. Because what you're doing right now is dividing people.
No, absolutely. Listen, I agree. The cops need a timeout. But you know who else needs a timeout? So is Tyreek. They both need a timeout. The cops need a timeout. He needs a timeout. And instead of elevating him and telling him, oh, you're so great, you did everything right, the NFL needs to be honest and say, listen, there is fault on both parties here. We expect the police officers to de-escalate the situation. We expect Tyreek, our representative of the NFL, to de-escalate the situation also. It does work on both parties. That's why I always say we need education in school. It starts in school when these kids are young. I had that 13-year-old girl that had her biases of white people, not her fault, but that's what she was taught. We need education in school because students become cops and some of those students will become football players and they may have interactions going forward. And this is what we don't need. This virtual signaling, the media frenzy loves to implement and inject this idea of racism. There's no race issue here involved. I don't think that Tyreek himself is racist, but I believe he made it a race issue because he's been pumped with information from the people that are surrounding him. So this is absolutely ridiculous. Again, virtual signaling. Yeah, there's faults on both parts, but it doesn't need to get. I see you laughing. You gotta be looking at some stupid comment. What comment are you looking at?
I'm looking at Corn Pop. She says soy lowest testosterone levels. It's true.
Well, so Corn Popper could definitely say you're not going to be. She's not going to be dating that football player.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do we got here? Oh, not this. I don't want to bring that up. Excuse me. Yeah, I want to bring up. So let's talk about Ed Caban here again. Ed Caban is. Let's move it back to New York now. Ed Caban, he's enthralled in this corruption scandal, potentially involving his brother doing shakedowns. But this one, this article has came out that he potentially has ties to the Chinese Communist Party. This article comes out in the New York Post yesterday. I mean, if this Adams administration is not a mess, I don't know what is. So top aide to embattled NYPD Commissioner Ed Caban linked to Chinese Communist Party. What are your thoughts just when you hear it? Is this just more of the media pouncing on them, or is this what are your thoughts before we even get into the article?
No, right away I start thinking about how they're dealing with outside entities with Turkey. We know what's going on right now, how the CCP is infiltrating some of the aides of the New York State administration. I think there's absolutely some teeth to this. I don't think it's hogwash. We know that this administration of the New York City Police Department, the upper echelon, loves to travel. We're very suspicious of the means that they're traveling, why they're traveling. They don't give any indication to the public. It hasn't been transparent. They don't say what training, what is being conducted in Qatar and other places like that. So I definitely think there's some teeth to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing. I just think of the meme we put out when he was traveling to Qatar, where he's dressed up in in all of this wear with all the jewelry and all of the chains. And now I picture him in Chinese garb. So yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think the media is pouncing on him a little, obviously, and rightfully so. I mean, I think Eric Adams and the New York City Police Department have done more of their share to deserve the media pouncing than anything. But yeah, I'm going to say before even reading this article that I think there are teeth to this, right? Eric Adams, this is an international police department. I don't agree, Eric. I don't agree. And, like I said, I don't think they should have been taking money from foreign governments, especially not trips. If we're firing cops for taking a free cup of coffee, how is the police commissioner justifying getting first-class trips to Qatar and five-star restaurants and other places throughout the world? So a top aide to embattled New York Police Department Commissioner Edward Caban is associated with shadowy groups that do the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party, the Post has learned. Lin Nguyen, 49, the assistant director of the Police Commissioner Liaison Unit, was previously vice chairman of a nonprofit linked to a web of CCP-controlled community groups and school associations known as United Front for 12 years, according to records viewed by the Post. He has also been pictured in attending events alongside prominent members of the United Front groups sponsored by them. The role of the United Front is to spread Chinese propaganda in the U.S., overseen by the United Front Work Department, funded and controlled by the central government in China. Lin was also handpicked by Mayor Eric Adams for his high-ranking job, despite having limited police experiences, sources said. All right, so before we go further in this article, obviously the NYPD works with community groups. I'm going to say right now that how would they even know that these groups will link to the Chinese Communist Party? Like, that's one. If there are groups that are linked to the Chinese Communist Party, I think it's the responsible of the federal government to let law enforcement officials and the mayor and all these people to let them know to stay away from these places, because there is an intertwining with the community. We see that, and I kind of think at some points it's necessary, right? In such a place like New York City, where you have a Chinatown, you have a Little Italy, you have a Little Bangladesh, you have an African part, you have a Chinese part, you have all of these different groups, and you want to be able to have access to all of them for information sharing and to really understand the problems in that community. So when I hear things like this, I'm like, well, how the hell would they really know? How would they know? I wouldn't know.
Well, it's funny you say that because I said that years ago also. I said, what do we have in New York City? We have the largest embassies in New York City. We have communities that are we have some of the largest communities, international communities in New York City. I mean, legitimately, you could live in Chinatown in New York City. You can live in Brighton Beach in Brooklyn if you're Russian. You can live in some neighborhoods in New York City and legitimately never have to learn English or have to become Americanized because everything is in that community for you to live your culture. And for some people that come here, most people that come here, they want to live the American dream and have a nice life, but it's comfortable for them. I get it. It's comfortable. They live in the community that they know. But also, we do have people that infiltrate that, and they're here for other reasons. So absolutely, we need a level of communication. I'm curious of what's in place from the federal government along with New York City, especially the fact that we have all these embassies and these international communities. So I'd love to know what system is in place. I agree with you. I don't expect the police department to have this intricate knowledge. I mean, we can't expect the police department to do everything. So we do need assistance and help with the federal government, which goes back to what we always say. How can we be a sanctuary city and not provide information to the federal government? It needs to work both ways. We need to provide information to the federal government, and the federal government has to provide information to the NYPD.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, so a little bit of this to me is whatever. So let's go into this. All right. So after initially not commenting, a spokesperson for the NYPD said Lynn came to the department as the deputy director, which does not require mayor approval. This was strictly a police commissioner appointment. Lynn's ties come under scrutiny at a time of heightened awareness of Chinese influence in New York after the arrest of Linda's son, a former aide to Governor Kathy Hochul last week. Son is charged with 10 criminal counts, including money laundering, visa fraud, conspiring to act as a foreign agent for China, and other crimes. She has pleaded not guilty in Brooklyn federal court. Lynn has been described by sources as Caban's right hand. The commissioner himself is himself under pressure after he and others saw their homes raided by federal agents last week. Although the reason for the raids has not been made public, sources said the investigation prompting the raids center around undue influence on the NYPD from China and Turkey. Hey, I know a few of you guys over here. I know a couple of you guys over here. So Lynn also has close ties to Winnie Greco, controversial aide Adams, who's special advisor and director of Asian affairs. Greco is also under probe by federal authorities looking for private emails and records for trips she organized to China for Adams when he was the Brooklyn borough president, the Post revealed in June. Greco's home was raided by the FBI in February. She has denied any misconduct and has not been charged with anything at this time. Her office did not return a request for comment from the Post. Lynn also attended events with Greco sponsored by United Front groups working with Chinese consulate in New York, according to Chinese language media. So it's also rumored that the officer who shot the girl who was working in the social media unit for Tyreek Shepard, who had like 2 years on or 3 years on, and he was in the social media unit at 1PP. It's rumored that he had strong ties to Winnie Greco, and that's why Tyreek Shepard appointed him to the social media unit. He was the officer that drove to Jersey, drove up to a car, supposedly had a romantic relationship, and let off a bunch of rounds, leaving a female paralyzed, drove away, and went to work the next day like nothing happened. So what do you think so far now as we're getting deeper into this article?
Well, absolutely. I think that Marlon, it's a simple comment, but he's right. When he's talking about the NYPD, all they have to do is talk to the community. There are many who are anti-CCP and can tell them. He's absolutely right. You know, we talk about community engagement, right? We have this whole program by former Mayor Bill de Blasio, the NCO program, Neighborhood Coordination Officer program, which I thought was pretty useless and you can wipe your ass with it. But being with that, we're talking about community engagement. That's exactly what they should be doing. They should be talking to the community and find out exactly who's anti-CCP and try to gather intelligence. Isn't gathering intelligence and garnering information just by talking to people? And bring that information back to the FIOs at the precincts, have them transpose that information to the Intelligence Bureau, and have them communicate with their federal partners of what's going on. But clearly there's a lack of information, and there's a complete breakdown. Absolutely.
So Putnam County Crime Analysis with Andrew DeStefano. Welcome, my friend. I got to check out your channel. Haven't yet, but he says the U.S. attorney for SDNY knows this is disrupting New York City and wouldn't proceed unless it was very serious. The DOJ and DC signed off on this. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with Andrew because, I mean, again, this could be looked at as election interference. It's political. We have people on this chat that are making light. You're going to see this is just nothing, just like John Shell tried to downplay it. Just a couple of agents showed up at our houses at 5 o'clock in the morning, took our phones. No big deal. Wasn't a raid. Yeah, they searched the police commissioner's house, but, it wasn't like that. They just wanted the phones. We're cooperating, but we're here to keep you safe. Downplayed the whole thing. And to me, I'm like sitting there and, me and Eric had spoken about this before. And we said, like, if you're an investigator and you have this case, you're not going to take it lightly submitting for a subpoena or a search warrant for a seated police commissioner or other high-ranking officials in the NYPD. I mean, because by all means, if you got this wrong, your career's over. So now, not only do you weigh this situation out over and over again with your superiors and all that, you guys actually proceed to go get these subpoenas and these warrants, right? And who do you bring it to? You bring it to a judge. You bring it to someone on a bench, and they're sitting there knowing the weight of these allegations and the media circus it's going to cause and actual effect it's going to have on public safety and the tarnishment it's going to have on the New York City Police Department and the office of the mayor and everyone else that's involved in this. And that judge signs off on it. I mean, I don't think everyone taking this situation lightly, like, this is just going to blow over. Again, even though, what's her face stole my quote, we are in uncharted waters, my friends. This is not something I think that anybody's going to take lightly, regardless if you like Eric Adams or you don't like Eric Adams, regardless if you're a fan of this NYPD administration or you're not a fan of this NYPD administration. This is a very serious allegations that are coming out. Latina Brown's on this morning. Latina says, good morning. Good morning to you, Latina. We hope all is well. And I think you're spot on with that, Andrew. Appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on. He's actually been on a couple of lives with us. I think yesterday, the other day also. Thank you so much for listening and being a friend to the podcast. Eddie West, definitely good friend to the podcast. $10. Thank you so much. I speak to him on Instagram. Great guy. Showing my support to you guys. Love the podcast. Keep bringing the noise. Shout out to Eric and John. With fist up and his fingers out. That's my thing, brother. One day grab a few cold ones and cigars. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, everybody knows I love cigars. Cop Watch used to film me and call 911 that I was doing police work with a cigar in my mouth while I was in plain clothes, not uniform. Yes, that is true. But according to Viral News, who smeared my name again, just another time that I was smoking cigars to project my authority. So Eddie West, apparently you want to project your authority together. One day we're planning on holding an event in New York at some point, as this podcast grows, once we get funding, we're looking to hold an event one day, and we'd love to have all you people there. And I'm sure Juju would show up at some point.
Well, I'd love to meet Juju and my girl Corn Pop too. No.
I can't wait to meet Corn Pop. I want to see if she has a gun on her hip or if she's going to have it concealed.
No, I think she can't get a caravan, and that's why she's mad.
Not because of me.
Are we right or are we wrong? Let us know.
We'll find out.
All right, so we got 1,034 people on here. Appreciate all you guys for joining us. If you like what you're hearing, if you could like and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, also as well as if you could share the space out, we appreciate it. We'll get some more voices in here, trying to get to all the comments and all the questions. We're talking about the greatest show on earth, New York City corruption. Let's continue further in this article. In early 2023, he joined the office of the Chief of Patrol and was again promoted in a triple jump promotion to his current position, becoming the first, Eric Adams loves first, the first Chinese American assistant chief in the history of the NYPD, according to reports. Wait, what? Yeah, I don't know what that is. What do you mean assistant? In the post announcing his new position last year, NYPD News described Lim as one of the highest-ranking Asian American civilian members of the NYPD, serving as a messenger between community groups and the top cop. So, all right, so his title, I'm assuming, has the rank of assistant chief. I mean, because they were making it like he actually is assistant chief. Assistant chief is a 2-star chief. So that's right under the chief of patrol, chief of detectives, things of that nature. So, I mean, he's very high ranking here. You see him right here, assistant commissioner. How much money are these people spending on these embroideries is what I want to know. There he is with our good friend, Victoria Perry, who tried to steer us from the Noble Association. Victoria, thanks for tuning in this morning. We appreciate you. We're still looking forward to having you on so you could describe to everyone how offended you are by our racist memes, and why you were not offended about the Eric Adams statements that they were based off of. I think it would be must-see TV. So open invite, hit me up, and let's keep it going.
And, tell her to bring Patrick Gordon with her.
Yeah, and Pat too. Pat's I think Pat's still in the closet. I think, I'm not sure.
I think Pat. What Corn Pop was talking about before about soy. I think Patrick Gordon likes a little soy.
Yeah. He looks a little light.
He's a soy boy.
Despite achieving such a high-level position, Lynn spent most of his previous career working in the hospitality industry. Between 2004 and 2016, he worked as the assistant manager of the Scarsdale Golf Club, and he owns a Chinese restaurant, China Star in the Bronx. He registered the business in 1997, 4 years after arriving in the U.S. from China, according to public records. Chinese language media reports. Lynn's policing experience is limited to auxiliary or volunteer service and a 3-year stint as an advisor to the White Plains Public Safety Commissioner beginning in 2018, sources said. A call seeking comment from White Plains Public Safety Commissioner David Chong was not returned Tuesday. Lynn's ties to the Chinese American groups began shortly after he arrived in the U.S. in 1993 as a student. He served as the vice chairman of the Fungal Shanghai, I can't say it, Benevolent Association of Eastern Europe, a non-for-profit. He occupied the position for 12 years. All right, I don't think we need to get into this article any further. What are your thoughts about this, though? They're alleging he's got ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Is it really fair to pin it on the police commissioner and Eric Adams, or is it, you know what, there's a lot of questionable moves that happened with China, and then this disappointment makes sense, and maybe this is something to look at? Like, what do you think?
Well, I think it's actually twofold. You can look at it both ways. I mean, again, do I think it's fair just for the police commissioner to have all the knowledge on this? No. But do I think there's also some teeth to it when it comes from outside entities with money from foreign affairs that has to deal with Mayor Eric Adams? Do I think that Mayor Eric Adams is involved in that? I think clearly we have the indication what's going on with Turkey is every shadow of doubt there shrouded with cloud of judgment. Do I think that Ed Caban could have been pulled into this? I mean, it is. We've always been suspicious of the trips to Qatar and other trips. That, to me, it's another indication, another red flag of what's going on. Yes, but what does this also? It begs the question exactly what I just said. This goes back to what I said. We're still a sanctuary city. We do not coordinate with our federal partners. So how do we expect the federal partners to coordinate with the New York City Police Department? Again, it works both ways. We need a level of communication. So I think that's where we need to go back to. We need a level of communication on all fronts. So I'm curious also if the feds don't communicate with the New York City Police Department because they're a sanctuary city. That's one thing I'm suspicious of.
That's a great question. But it's not the feds that aren't cooperating with us. It's us not cooperating with the feds. And I believe which is violating federal immigration law. So again, like I said, I think the policy these cities really, if you look at the law, you should sit there and say these mayors are guilty of breaking federal immigration law and should be arrested, and city council members that voted in response for this. Is this up on the screen right now? Yes, it is. Let's play this video. But I thought, I agree with you 100%. How would they know? Should they know? But it is questionable. The based upon the trips and all of the illicit donations from foreign entities, it's definitely questionable. And Eddie Caban flying out like the golfer is also questionable. So let's play this clip.
Now to the latest on the federal investigations involving the city's police commissioner and other top officials at City Hall.
All right, today, 2 top leaders within the NYPD appeared on Good Day New York, and they seem to be standing by their boss. Morgan McKay live in the newsroom with the latest reaction from the department. Morgan.
Stephen, Natasha, high-ranking NYPD officials are not saying much publicly when it comes to the FBI raid on their boss.
There's no member of this department that has any indication that the commissioner is going to resign.
High-ranking NYPD officials say that NYPD Commissioner Edward Caban has no plans to resign after the FBI raided his home, the home of his twin brother, and several other NYPD executives. Federal investigators are reportedly looking into whether the police commissioner's twin brother, James Caban, sold police protection to nightclubs and restaurants in the city. However, a week later, still much is unknown about the investigation, and some are worried that this investigation could have a real impact on the commissioner's ability to do his job, something NYPD Deputy Commissioner Tyreek Shepard pushed back on.
I'm confident in our leadership that we are the most adaptable police department in the country, whether it's law changes or whether it's an investigation going on.
Mayor Eric Adams denies that he is pressuring Caban to step down in light of the investigation, but did admit that he met with the police commissioner on Monday. Adams would not go into detail on what was discussed, but said he did not know the raids were coming.
I realize that these investigations have raised a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. There's some serious matters that must be addressed. I was surprised as you to learn of these inquiries, and I take them extremely seriously.
No one has been charged with any crime so far, but some insiders and experts have raised concerns about how this federal probe could impact the NYPD's relationship with the FBI. Despite the rumors that Caban could be stepping down in the coming days, Shepard says they are remaining focused.
That's a decision that the mayor has to make, and the commissioner himself. They will have those private conversations, and that decision will be made. It's for us as leaders of this department to continue to stay focused. We've been keeping crime down for 8 months in a row. New York City depends on us to keep them safe, and that's what we have to do. We can't be distracted by this.
Now, the New York Daily News also just dropped a story that James Caban was issued police protection back when his twin brother became the police commissioner in July of last year and has been chauffeured around in an NYPD vehicle whenever he's in the city. We reached out to DCPI for a response, but didn't hear back in time for air. Stephen, Natasha?
Back in 2020.
What do you think about that, guy?
I don't like to give Juju too much attention, but what a shocker that he just wrote the Gotham Brothers. You must love seeing yourself on TV. But listen, this goes back to everything that we've been saying. How does the public first find out now that his brother has a protection security detail when he's in New York City? How do we find out a year later? That's insane. You want to talk about level of transparency. I mean, we've been saying it for 2 years. I have gotten so much flack. John has gotten so much flack because we say this is the least transparent administration we've ever seen. You know, I've had people call me. John had the same thing. What are you talking about? This other administration that kept was lacking transparency when it came to certain things. We're not arguing that, but we're saying this is by far this administration is the least transparent. They omit a lot of information, and the fact that they omitted that his brother has security detail who looks like him, who has the lingo of a police officer, he was employed by the NYPD. That's scary. That's complete misconduct. That's corruption. So if anybody says, "Oh, this is going to turn out free and clear," We already have corruption as we speak. We've identified corruption already.
You know what? And I misspoke. You know what? I just want to go back on something else with the Chinese Communist Party. You know, Marlon's right here. He says the job has the intel bureau. He's 100% right. And like before we do any interactions with any community groups, before we even host events at places, we have intel do a check on these places to make sure there's no nefarious intentions. But so those checks should have been done. I don't know, you know, again, obviously Intel does work closely with the Feds, Joint Terrorism Task Force, Raw Marine brings in there. You guys are 100% right. There definitely are outlets to know. Are there steps in place to ensure that we're not working with potential enemies of the state? That I question. I really do. I question it. I really do. And I'm going to say in this new woke world, we lose a lot of our strength because we want to be so community orientated, you know? So yeah, you guys are right. I just want to bring that up. You guys are 100% right. I didn't even think of that part. Like we literally, if you can't even host an event at a place without doing an intel check, but just back to what they're saying again, even Fox News 16 hours ago, they report that. You heard it here first. It wasn't ours. It was you guys that gave that to us. It was Dave Savella specifically. You know, and you know, you guys heard it here first. You heard it days prior that he was driving around with a protection detail, you know. So, and now the news is just catching up. And you know, where's the integrity of the upper echelon of the NYPD? There is none. Where's the honesty of the NYPD? And then to see John Shell there, to see John, you don't look the same, brother. You don't look like the guy that just a few short days ago was tweeting about having coffee in the green room at Fox News. You don't look like the guy that was hashtagging BMS and EDW. You don't look like that same guy that was sending all these cryptic texts to this podcast, you know, and everyone's saying, yeah, Ed Caban stepping down today. That's the rumor. Ed Caban stepping down today, right? Everybody's saying it. John Shell's rumored to take a big spot. This guy's rumored to take a big spot. Why would John Shell get any spot? He should be removed also. Let's just say John Shell's completely uninvolved in any of this. My statement holds true for John Shell as well. He's in charge of patrol. So one of his guys is driving the police commissioner's brother around in a marked car. Corruption. One. Police commissioner's brother is calling you and your underlings to squash things at bars and restaurants and all of this other thing. Corruption. So let's say that all that stuff's true, all those allegations are true and those were happening, but somehow John Shell doesn't know about it. Same holds true for Eric Adams. Either he's too dumb to be in the position or he's in on it. Those are the two options, but either way, it doesn't matter. He cannot be in his position. He cannot remain as the chief of patrol because corruption festered under him. I don't understand. You know, Eric, I'm reading a lot about generals in World War II. You know what they all used to keep in their pocket? A resignation letter for when they failed. When they failed. This is a failure. Tariq Shepard sitting there, oh, we move. We don't worry about investigations. You don't worry about corruption investigations that's encompass and snare all of you. You don't worry that they just grabbed all your phones. And again, keep hearing a rumor that Kaz Daughtry's wife had a Cat 1 take-home car. If anybody could look that up, please let us know. It's just a rumor. I don't know how true it is. You know.
Well, first of all, at this time, we're about 2 hours and 20 minutes into this. I'd ask anybody on the space right now, like and subscribe, like the space. We appreciate it. How many we have in here right now?
We have 1,189, 1,191 people in here. Excuse me, 92 people in here. It keeps growing. Appreciate all of you.
Outstanding. Listen, one thing I'll say, you're right. When John Shell has totally changed. He doesn't look like himself. The only thing I will say remains the same. You know, he said he was out having a cup of coffee, all this tough guy talk, but he said he was also having him and Kaz were having a bacon, egg, and cheese. So I don't think they changed. They sure looked like they were having that bacon, egg, and cheese. Again, this is the comparison. And I'm so glad that you brought that up with World War II, right? This is why I have such, respect for the Marine Corps. And I talk about the Marine Corps far more than I do when it comes to the police department. When I think of the model of leadership that I admire, is because it was always mission first. And the welfare of the troops, the welfare of themselves was actually third, because it was mission first, then it was the troops, then it was the leadership. The leadership, they always put themselves last. If you went out to chow together, they called, going to eat. Rob Marine, if you're still on, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you went to chow, it was the lowest ranks eat first, and the highest ranks eat last. And they put the mission first. That's right, Rob Marine put it here, Semper Fi. Mission accomplishment, troop welfare. The mission is always first. So now I'm not saying that you should jump on a grenade, but that's why when you're in the Marines, you learn about Marines that jump on grenades because they put the mission first and they put themselves second. I'm not saying they should do that, but when it comes to Tyreek Shepard and John Shell, they won't even jump on a grenade for the good of the public by telling the commissioner that you need to step down, that we're all implicated here, and how can we properly police the police department? And that's why I say it, John. I said they're all infected. Everyone's infected. Everyone knew that there was a security detail for his brother who has the police lingo. Everyone knew. Don't tell me. And that's misconduct and corruption. And you know how many people reported, John? 0. The only reason that they're writing about it right now is because of this podcast. And the only reason this podcast that we know is because of Dave. And thank you so much. That's why our friends and listen to the podcast. You're so important. Just how Marlon just brought up that information about the Intel Bureau. That's so important. That's why we say we are the experts, because all together we put our information, our ideas. It's so important that we all give our opinions. We all criticize, and we all bring in our experience together. We can't do this alone. So you guys help us out big time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's still the media frenzy going on. Man just got fatally shot in the head, broad daylight, Queen Street. We don't have any further information. 1010 Wins is reporting now. But you see, I just had an article up about Top Adams' ally brother, pro by feds, known for expensive taste as they frequent swanky New York City nightclubs, restaurants. So the media is really going to town on them, rightfully so. I mean, they've been very not transparent, this administration. And again, they go on their station every day and lie. I mean, that's a problem to me. It's a problem that, that we have this lack of integrity in the New York City Police Department, and it's acceptable for everybody. Again, we've been calling out that crime isn't down for 2.5 years, that it's actually up, using their own numbers. Sam Antar has been doing it. A lot of other accounts in X have been doing it for 2.5 years. We all just kind of found each other and started really hammering it home. But we've been talking about this for 2.5 years, and everyone's okay with it. Everyone in the upper echelon's okay with the consistency of lies coming out from the administration. Everyone in this administration was perfectly fine that there was a mass shooting on a parade route, the West Indian Day Parade. And Eric Adams said that it was safe. Everything went according to plan, and hats off to the team. And they all actually gave themselves a pat on the back for a job well done. John Shell was like, he went to, I think it was, I forget who it was, New York. Oh, Dan Rivoli in New York won. He goes, Dan Rivoli said, because you failed. He goes, what do you mean we failed? What do you mean we failed? You failed because you had a mass shooting on a parade route in front of hundreds of cops. That's a failure, John. That's the time to dig into your pocket, take out your resignation letter, and hand it. It's not the time to change your name from the Dream Team to the Gotham Brothers and talk about you guys are going to do a podcast and all this stuff. I mean, absolute insanity. It just keeps going further and further and further. And honestly, I don't know where the end is in sight, and what is New York City Council working on currently to keep you people safe? They're working on reparations. They have a bill for a study for reparations. And then the other thing they're working on is Crystal Hudson wants reparations. I think she should be excluded from it. If you are an individual, you you could potentially profit from that bill, you should remove yourself from being able to vote on it or even in that study. Obviously, that would be a conflict of interest. But just so we're aware on this podcast, I support reparations for anybody who is a slave, or if your parents were a slave in the United States of America. I support you. I want to see you get paid back. So I do support reparations. Anything past that, though, absolutely not.
Well, there you go. Is anybody alive? Is anybody alive to actually get that payment?
I mean, they'd be a couple hundred years old. But
I think you kind of alluded to it.
Yeah.
Well, look, listen. Again, you're asking what's going to happen. What's going to happen with this administration? We see it. They're little children. They, no matter what it is, they double down because you know what? They can't admit that failure. They can't admit they're wrong because it attacks their egos. They don't put the cops before they put themselves. Clearly, the only ones that care about themselves. Because right now, let's be honest, I don't care what anybody tells me. I am going to stand by this. Right now, with this corruption probe, there are people in the streets right now that are screaming at cops and telling them you're fucking corrupt, blah, blah, blah. They made the streets more dangerous for these cops right now, and it's already out of control. It's already dangerous. They're under attack. They just made it far worse. If anybody disagrees with me, we could talk about that all day. They made the streets far worse right now. The cops are paying for that, and they're too dumb and they're too selfish to say, you know what, we need to fix this and step down. I mean, again, I'm going to say, John, it's crazy. The fact that he has a security detail for an entire year and the public doesn't know, that's insane. That's really crazy, especially that his brother was a former NYPD officer who knows the lingo. How scary. How much power do you think his brother has? I would say, arguably, we could say that his brother has just as much power as he does. Ultimately, he can act as the police commissioner anytime that he sees fit. Now, are we saying that he did that? We don't know. There's allegations, but we know this is official misconduct. This is corrupt, and the appearance of this is terrible, brother. It's horrible.
Completely breaking down. The other bill that I forgot to mention was Eric Botcher. I think he's in the West Village. And we just reported about how on the Lower East Side, there was a woman who was fatally shot in front of her son entering her $1 million apartment building, coming home from work in the early evening hours while she was being robbed. She was shot in the head by two assailants, and they ran off into the night. And as of yet, they're still unapprehended. So Eric Botcher has also put out a bill. So we have the reparations bills up. And then Eric Botcher puts out a bill that in gun stores in New York City, which there's probably 4 of them. I don't even know how many there are. Can't be more than 10. Can't even be. You could probably count them on 2 hands, on less than 2 hands, excuse me. On one hand, how many gun stores there are in New York City that will require gun stores to put graphic imagery in there to let legal gun owners know the dangers of gun ownership. So that's public safety in Eric Botcher's eyes. That's completely this is what New York City Council is focused on. Reparations and putting signs in gun stores so that legal gun owners who are responsible for nearly 0% of all crime on New York City streets, so that a business has yet another thing that they must print out and spend money to do and put on their window, requirement thing to be summons for. This is what it is. Eric, we're going on 2 hours and 30 minutes. We got 1,259 people in here. Do you want to just go into one more article before we go and see if we get some breaking news? Or do you want to hold off until tomorrow?
Dude, I'm always up for it. Let's do it, brother. If our listeners and friends want to do it, I'm down.
All right, so let's do it. We got 1,200 people in here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. 1,260. All right, so 2 things before we get in this article. The NYPD is obviously breaking down. A lot of people are asking for pistol permits. A lot of people are waiting for their pistol permits to get renewed. A lot of people are very upset about this. And what I'm being told, I don't know if it's true or if it's not true, But what I'm being told is the licensing division cannot give out pistol permits because they've run out of supplies. And honestly, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds, it can't happen. The police department has supplies up the yin-yang. It sounds ridiculous to me. Under a different administration. Under this administration, I mean, I could probably go there now and fix whatever problem they're having. It's probably the dumbest problem ever. But that's what I'm being told. I mean, obviously it's a rumor, Eric, but do you believe it's something that could be true? Because I do.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, listen, it doesn't surprise me with the police department. I mean, do you remember years ago when before we transitioned to pets, anyone in NYPD Act, if you know what I'm talking about, the property electronics transferring system that they have now. But before that, they actually they came out with a different style, and all the carbon copies when they were all messed up. I mean, it must have cost millions of dollars. There was a mistake. I forgot what the mistake was. If anybody could remind me here. But there was, do you remember what I'm talking about? It was a mistake with the vouchers. It must have cost millions of dollars. So I wouldn't be surprised, that especially right now with the way the police departments run, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm just saying. Like the incompetence, again, like integrity and competence is not what gets you further in the Eric Adams administration, right? It's lack of integrity and dishonesty that'll get you further in the Eric Adams administration. And what you notice about the people who are usually dishonest and have low integrity is they're incompetent as hell. They're terribly incompetent. So they're placing people in positions they have no business to be in. They're placing people in positions that are literally sitting at their desks and doing their nails while people are working. And then they're gutting those offices out. And they're the only person left sitting in that office while these officers are going on all these details and everything's happening. And there's problems that are arising in all of these offices. And by the way, I'm not just talking about the New York City Police Department here. I'm talking about every agency in New York City. And then as problems arise, when you're a leader, you need to be able to move. You need to be able to fix those problems. But when you're doing this, you're just painting your nails, or you're going out to lunch with your friends, or you're hanging out with Eric Adams, or you're going to ceremonies, and you're just in this position for a free ride, none of those problems get fixed. We saw throughout the city yesterday that there were a lot of people yesterday, there were a lot of commands that held 9/11 ceremonies. On 9/11, we would hold ceremonies in the morning, right? On every command. But there were some commands throughout New York City that there were no executives in, there were no ceremonies held, and they were asking for them to go out during the 9/11 ceremony and do checkpoints and stupid things of that nature. And to me, it's just a complete breakdown of competency. It's just a complete breakdown of competency when we can't even get it down from the top that, hey, it's 9/11. Let's make sure you guys aren't really hammering the public at this moment in time. We're not getting grandma on her cell phone in that checkpoint. I agree. Checkpoints need to be done. I agree. People with fake licenses, their cars need to be taken and they need to be arrested off of New York City streets and all of these things. I agree with public safety, but I don't agree with that use of manpower at that moment in time. And that's the problem.
Absolutely. It's definitely there's definitely missed resources on the job. Listen, I just want to let you know my phone is off the hook. I'm sure yours is too from numerous people. I'm sorry, Juju. I won't tell you who these people are, but everyone's saying he's stepping down today. That Ed Caban is stepping down today. I think it's happening. We know that. We know the rumor mill in the police department, especially when it comes from lower ranks. And I'm sorry, I won't tell you who it is, Juju. They're usually pretty on target, pretty accurate. So I think it's imminent. I think it's just a matter of time where we hear today you know, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the evening. You know, a lot of times, a lot of things happen with the police department in the evening. So, what do you think about that? Think you step it down?
Again, like I said, he should have stepped down on Monday. I don't know what the hell he's waiting for at this point. I mean, this is just a circus, and then they're not showing up to 9/11 events. I think the problem is they're literally like chickens without heads right now. The department just got its head cut off, not because of Ed Caban, because he's not really, because all of them are worried right now. So it's like, all right, Ed Caban steps down. Why is John Shell, Kaz Daughtry, Tariq Shepard, Tani Kinsella, why do any of them remain in place? If you know, and I think that's the major problem, and I think that's what's going on here. Is he's like, wait, why am I stepping down? You were all in on it too. You're all being accused of this too, whether it's real or it's not. They're all being accused of it too. Why am I the only one stepping down? You know, and I think that's the turmoil that's happened yesterday, and that's what's going on. I'm getting a lot of messages from a lot of people, and they're all saying the same thing. The problem with the licensing division is also that the new law had opened up the books that a lot of civilians can now conceal carry in New York City. They said they're inundated with applications and they don't have the manpower for it. That's another problem. And then the manpower they do have are considered admin do-nothings, right? And have them all out on the street. And then they leave the civilians there who, you know, there are good civilians in the New York City Department. But a lot of in these administrative offices, the people really wheel are the uniform members, because there are some uniform functions need to be done, especially in the licensing division when it comes to integrity control, things of that nature. So that's a problem that's going on. It's a complete breakdown. And that's just like what you're seeing at the license division. It really has nothing to do with those applications. Because I'll tell you right now, you could put me or Eric in there right now. We'll have those applications out in 2 weeks, everybody. So all you guys that are waiting for stuff, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. Give me a number. I don't care. Tell me it. 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
John, you shocked? I mean, when the PBA finally settled this contract, how many cops did we hear from that said for weeks they could not get their checks? They were constantly making phone calls and they were just met with resistance. They could not get paid. They couldn't get their checks. That is the most ridiculous thing. Those checks, you and I both said, get those checks out. Those checks should have been top priority. They should have got those checks out right away. Corn Pop, I love to meet you in person. She's hilarious. Said Eric would probably deny them all.
He definitely would. He's anti-2. I'm with you, Corn Pop. He's anti-2.
She's never going to let this go. One day she's going to thank me. I'm all for guns. Carry the gun. But conceal that gun. And you know what? I train and I'll tell you why. And I'll show you why it should be concealed. But that's another thing. But Second Amendment, I'm all for it. Corn Pop's, we got to be Corn Pop.
I'm with you, Corn Pop. Listen, I think we need to have this conversation again. Why? Where does it say in the Second Amendment that I have to conceal carry?
No. You're not listening to what I'm saying. So you know what? Stop right there. You and Corn Pop both somehow teaming up on. I never said that you should not be allowed to open carry. I said I don't think you should.
Rewind the tape. The tape, Corn Pop.
I never said that. We better rewind this because I never said. I never said. But hear me out, and I don't think so. You're right. You want to open carry it? That's your right. I don't think you should. I think it's smart to keep it concealed. Tactically, it's much better. It's a much smarter way to go. And she put, I can carry in South Carolina, but not in New York. But that's my perception. You should be allowed to carry. I don't think open carry is good. I think it's silly. I think it should be concealed.
Well, Juju says Kaz for PC. I would love to see it, dude, because that would just be that would be.
Well,
I would feel bad. I mean, the police department would literally be. They would probably lose like 60% of its numbers, like in a very short period of time. But it would be funny to see. It would definitely be funny to see. So we got 1,309 people on here. We'll bring you any breaking news that comes out from the New York City Police Department. Let's get in. We were talking about the corruption. We talked about the Tyreek Hill incident. Gave our thoughts around that. Let's get into this article a little bit.
Wait, John, before you get to the article, just want to let you know, remind you, because our listeners, our friends know that if Kaz Daughtry becomes the PC, I'm the winner. I win the bet. You owe me. I don't even know what we're betting here, but I win.
E-Man Street PhD. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Chris Arnold says they are inundated with cops running out the window. E-Man, I actually got a text from E-Man. I got a couple other messages in the background too from a lot of friends in the podcast, a lot of friends that we have. So appreciate you guys for all the support. Rob Marine says he'd be the youngest PC ever. He'd also be the dumbest and most inexperienced officer ever. So I'll go with that too. So let's get into this article, because I think what you're going to see here is this has nothing to do with the NYPD sticking up for the rank and file. It has everything to do with the incompetence of Eric Adams and his appointee. It has everything to do that every system that's been put in place in this multifaceted police department and city, this dynamic department that has all of these wheels, all of the wheels are beginning to stop turning. So let's get into it. The NYPD is tossing out hundreds of misconduct cases, including stop and frisk, without even looking at them. The department has killed more than 400 cases of alleged misconduct this year that an oversight board had investigated and substantiated. It's part of a lax attitude towards discipline under the current police commissioner, Edward Caban, critics say. So before I even start to read this, what are you thinking?
Oh, of course. It's all self-serving, just like we always say. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm so disappointed by this administration. It's ridiculous. I don't even know what to expect from them anymore. Just the title alone. The NYPD is tossing out 100 misconduct cases, including stop and frisk, without even looking at them. Again, because the reason why I say it's just a reflection of my case. I had 8 sets of administrative charges in a 6-week period, and I was told nothing that they could do. Nothing that they could do. And some of them were fantastic stops. One of them in particular was a fantastic stop. We had stopped a perpetrator the day before. We got a legal firearm. Perp had a .45 caliber loaded firearm slung around his chest with a trouser belt in the same spot. The next day, we conducted a stop. Same similar behavioral indicators. Civilian Complaint Review Board substantiated. And it went to trial. And, of course, I lost 18 vacation days for doing our job.
So, and it's funny. So what's happening here is part of the to blame is CCRB, right? So what CCRB does is they get a case, they get 18 months to investigate it. And then in about the 16th or 17th month, they bring down charges for the NYPD and they give it to you. And the NYPD has a day or two to review it. And most times they don't even review it. And they just hand the officer charges. Horrible thing that's been going on for years. My take on that whole situation is the NYPD should have saying, you know what? It's your fault. We need X amount of time to properly investigate these cases and give our officers charges. If you do not come up at this time frame, whatever that time frame is, 90 days, 180 days, 60 days, whatever it is, if you cannot complete your investigation by this time frame, don't even send it to us. We're going to put it down that you missed the statute of limitations. We're unable to fulfill it. So, but what the NYPD's been doing is getting these cases the last day, and then they rush, and then guys are on vacation, guys are on RDO, they're out at details, and they're running around the city. Department advocates running around the city trying to find them, telling everyone, we're going to get CDs if this guy doesn't sign off on the charges right now, which is, by the way, goes against labor law. And the unions, you cowards, say absolutely nothing about it. Because the bottom line is this: that guy is not required to sign that right then and there. He's required to have time to review it. If that time reviewing it elapses the statute of limitations, that's on CCRB. That's not on the job, right? So I'm going to say right here, when I'm reading this, I'm saying it's about time that there's a little pushback, but that's not what's going on here. That's not what's going on here. When I see it at face value, I would be like, yeah, this is what I would have said. If I was the police commissioner, this exact article would be written, but there would be way more than what they just gave. 400, be double or triple that amount. And the other thing is, it's being done, I believe, arbitrarily And I don't think it has anything to do with the time frame. I think it has to do with who you know. And I think these 400 cases, you're going to see a heavy thing with kids in tight pants and khaki pants. And you're going to see other people get hammered and slammed for absolutely no reason. And cases that probably should have been discipline issued. And those guys maybe shouldn't be out in the street because they're immature. They did something stupid and they need a little constructive discipline. Didn't get it. And I think that's what you're going to see here. So as much as I see two sides of the coin, I'm going to say right now, complete breakdown in the NYPD. You're seeing all the wheels stopping, but you're seeing them. They work only when you're close to the king.
Absolutely, brother. You nailed it. So we're talking about nepotism. So I didn't get a chance to go into it, but what we see quite often is, especially with this disciplinary matrix and the algorithm that is built by the Civilian Complaint Review Board. So what they do is they contact you just like they did with my cases. They contacted me on the day the statute of limitations was about to exceed with the COVID extension. So with the COVID extension, it added about 11 months. So some of my cases were, so typically when it comes to a civilian complaint, the statute of limitation is 18 months. And the caveat to that, how they surpass that is they say that if there is an alleged crime, if not convicted in court, but enough that the CCRB can approve that it's an alleged crime, that they could extend the statute of limitation. But there was also a caveat too. With COVID, they got an extension for about, it was like 10 or 11 months, I think, got the extension. It was from March 20th. It froze on March 20th of 2020, and it was reinstated November 5th of 2020. So during that time, all their cases were frozen, and they were allotted that amount of time to extend to cases. So my cases, I was called, and I was told to come down to receive my charges. And I had gotten 6 in an 8-week period. And so they gave me a 3 at one time. And they called me, and it was exceeding that day. And I said, well, my tour doesn't start till I was working at 1,800 hours at this time. And they said that they would wait for me. So I had to go down to pick up my charges. And, of course, I purposely took my time. So I picked up my charges almost 10 o'clock at night. They waited for me. At no point did the NYPD say to the Civilian Complaint Review Board that you had almost 3 years to investigate this case, and now you're handing to it. You want us to hand it to him on this particular day and business hours at One Police Plaza for the desk that administers charges. Charges closed at 1,700. You missed your window. But no, instead, they made me wait. I'm sorry. They waited, and I responded at almost 10 o'clock at night to receive charges. It was the most ridiculous thing. And again, what do? They box police officers in to make decisions without the proper days of adjudication that you're allotted according to Patrol Guide. You have 3 days to adjudicate that CD, and they hand police officers a command discipline on the day that the statute of limitations are going to exceed, and they do not give that police officer the time to make a decision because you have 3 days. And they tell the police officer, if you don't make the decision, sign it, well, you're going to get charges. And now you're this poor police officer that is on a list and you're about to get promoted, right? You're about to get promoted and you cannot make that decision. So what do? Because you don't want it to uphold your promotion. You take that discipline. And now I'm going to explain to the police officers right now in the NYPD, if you understand. Once you take that CD, that substantiated CD or charges, you are now subjected to a civil lawsuit that you will not be indemnified for. Also, you now build the algorithm of the disciplinary matrix. So the next time you get a substantiated civilian complaint, you're not going to get a CD because the CCRB is going to say that you have aggravating factors because you have prior discipline, and now you get charges.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, all right, let's read. Let's see what they're saying in this article. This is a ProPublica article. Not really a fan of their reporting, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's see what they're saying. The New York City Police Department has tossed out hundreds of civilian complaints about police misconduct this year without looking at the evidence. The cases were fully investigated and substantiated by the city's police oversight agency, the Civilian Complaint Review Board. What did E-Man call them? He called them, he had a different term for them, the Criminal Coddling Retribution Bureau. So they included officers wrongfully searching vehicles and homes, as well as using excessive force against New Yorkers. Now, excessive force is a problem if in fact it's legit. In one instance, an officer punched a man in the groin, the oversight agency found. In another, the officer unjustifiably tackled a young man, and then another officer wrongfully stopped and searched him, according to CCRB. None of those sound too egregious to me, and none of it sounds like it's all subjective to me as well. I'd love to see the videos. The incident involving the young man was one of dozens of stop and frisk complaints the NYPD dismissed without review this year. A significant development, given that the department is still under federal monitoring that a court imposed more than a decade ago over the controversial tactic. The practice of killing cases without review began 3 years ago as a way to cope with escalating caseloads that were approaching a deadline for discipline. But ProRepublica found it has become more frequent under Police Commissioner Edward Caban. The police commissioner may not be in his position for long. He is under pressure to resign as his phone was seized in a federal corruption investigation. He has also faced criticism for failing to hold officers accountable for misconduct. Since he took office in July, the NYPD ended without review more than 500 incidents, about half the case the oversight board referred to it. According to an analysis of the board truth, the rate has climbed to nearly 60% this year. Under Caban's predecessor, Keechant Sewell, the department faced roughly the same number of cases, but about 40% were tossed out with review. Neither Caban nor Sewell responded for comment. And that's the failure right there, right? Like, they don't respond. So, like, we're left with the fact that what's going on is there's nepotism. The CCRB is incompetent. We all know that. And then there's nepotism involved and the shit getting swept under the rug. We're left to make those assumptions because there's no leadership, because they should have said no. You know, the CCRB waited almost the entire investigation and we couldn't properly investigate them. But they're not saying that. You know why they're not saying that? Because in a few of those cases, that's probably not the truth. In a lot of them.
That's what I'm saying, brother. That's exactly what happened to me on the case of point, your primary example, right? That's why I wear the moniker most complaint cop. I'm not bragging about it. I own it. I own it because I was out there doing good police work, doing intrusive police work in opposition to like some of the trolls that we have here that have no idea what to do real police work. And if you're me and you're not close to the king, that's why I'm out here, you know, on this crusade to protect the police officers right now, the boots on the ground that are doing intrusive police work, that don't have khaki pants on, that don't have protection by the king, because they will be swept under the rug. They will be bamboozled by the Civilian Complaint Review Board. No protection, no support from the upper echelon of the NYPD. Those cases will go through. It's absolutely ridiculous that the Civilian Complaint Review Board is allowed to give charges on the last day of the statute of limitations, and the NYPD should stand up and say, absolutely ridiculous. We're not accepting these charges. How do we have time? Let's be honest, John. It's impossible. How did they have time to vet those charges when they received it at the last day? When I received those charges, how do they have time to vet it, to make sure that all the information was accurate, that the incident actually happened, that it was me working on that particular day? And again, this is not about me anymore. I'm 2 years in retirement. September 30th will be two years. So you know what? It's about the police officers that are there right now, because we have to protect them. This disciplinary matrix destroys them. The upper echelon in the NYPD does not support them unless they're in khaki pants. So right now, that's my advice to a police officer out there right now. I get it. You want to get promoted. But if you receive a command discipline substantiated by the Civilian Complaint Review Board on the last day where the statute of limitations are being exceeded, I'm sorry, you should take those charges and take it to trial, and you will win. Because if you don't, you're leaving yourself susceptible to a lawsuit that you will not be indemnified. The only one that gets indemnified in the city is Eric Adams and his aides that have subjects and allegations of sexual harassment and sexual allegations. But you, the poor cop that did your job in the scope of your employment, you will not be supported and you will be on your own. So I get it. You want to be promoted, but at the same time, don't spite your nose to bite your face. Your union should be backing you up. They should be backing you up every step of the way, and we don't see that. So you know what? If you come into that issue, and I'm telling you right now, if you have a command discipline for substantiated CCRB on the last day, if you have charges for CCRB, please contact us at www.thefinestunfiltered.com, and we will help you every step of the way and every way which way we can.
So before we go further in this article, Kaz Daughtry has arrived from out from under his shell, and he's back on Twitter today. Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry was admitted to the bar today, so it's a celebratory moment. You know, it's who's there with them. It's Kaz Daughtry, it's Jeffrey Madry, it's Michael Gerber, and it looks like it's Chief Obey as well, too. I believe she was admitted to the bar as well. And Kaz Daughtry writes this. Congratulations to NYPD Chief of Department Madry. As Chief of Department, you are not only the face of the NYPD, but throughout your career, you have proven to be the very energy and backbone that has made the NYPD the success it is today. These people are sick. You are my personal mentor, and you have shown me that no matter how far you've come, you can always achieve more. Now we celebrate another fantastic achievement in your career. You are officially admitted to the bar and now a lawyer. Thank you for all you've done for me, the finest and New York City. These people are sick. So Jeffrey Madry was gone for about a year. He was gone for about a year. He was holed up in the police academy studying. So could you imagine you too could become the police department? You could become the chief of department in the police department, take a hiatus, show up at the police academy every day, study with your $260,000 a year salary, pass the bar, and then get your phone taken. Supposedly get your phone taken by the feds. Be under a corruption investigation and get admitted to the bar. Wow. So I'm getting a lot that there will be a press conference at noon. I don't know that we'll make it to noon. If we do, we'll put the press conference up live here. But we're expecting to hear about a press conference. I don't know how accurate it is, but from a pretty good source. So, we'll see that. So let's get further into this article. Eric, what are your thoughts on the bar, on Jeffrey Madry getting admitted to the bar before we go further?
Oh, I think it's hilarious. Someone put, the bar at O'Malley's. Absolutely. First of all, again, just a misuse of taxpayer resource. You're the chief of department, and he was completely insignificant for an entire year. I mean, the face of the department, that's what they say. And yet we barely saw him for an entire year because we know when we have intricate knowledge, right? I'm sure we'll probably be investigated for this, or maybe cops will be investigated, that Chief Madry spent his days at work studying. So again, this is absolutely ridiculous. Another misuse of resources. I didn't get to study all day at work for sergeant's lieutenant's test, and neither did you, John, but yet he got to study all day to study the bar. Absolutely ridiculous. It's so egregious what's going on with this administration. The way that they tote themselves around, it's embarrassing. They look ridiculous. It's like they're always clapping for each other. Again, they are each other's biggest cheerleaders. I never see more of a bunch of cucks than we see the administration here. And again, I'm going to say this again, John. Everyone, I repeat, everyone, even though I saw Ron Layson put it earlier that the two chiefs that were mentioned, they're fantastic people. I don't care. Chief Kenny, all that they might be great. Everyone, John, I hope you stick with me on this. Everyone should be removed. Everyone knew that James Caban, the brother to the police commissioner, has his own security detail. It was not transparent to the public. That is corruption. Everyone knew. No one said a word. Shame on them.
All right. So listen, I need some coffee, but I think we're going to get some breaking news at 12 o'clock. I'm not sure 100% who it is, but hearing that there's going to be an announcement soon. PC announcements coming soon. And I think we're both going to crap out. Me and Eric made a bet. I bet that Shepard would be the police commissioner. Eric made the bet that Kaz was going to be the police commissioner. We all said that it was a chance that it could be Kinsella or Madry. Nobody really thought Madry because he's kind of on his way out. And Shell's like, he's a moron. So, but I'm hearing it's going to be an outside person. And that's all I'm going to say at this moment in time, but a person outside of the New York City Police Department. So we'll try to bring it to you. Eric, how you feeling? Are you busy today? We've been going for a very long time, my friends. 3 hours. We got 1,379 people on here. I could do either or. I'm fine. We could stay on and see because it might come past 12. It might come way after that.
I'm a warrior, brother. I'm a warrior. All I need is a bladder break for a moment. Why don't we give everyone a bladder break for a minute? Come right back.
Yeah, go run. I'll read this article. Go to the bathroom, and then when I'm done, we'll give you thoughts, and then and come back. Or
Yeah,
Corn
give me 2
Pop
seconds.
says, let's do lunch and come back. You know what? We could do that. Why don't we break? And when this press conference goes, we're going to come up live.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Why don't we do that? Screw this article. The police department's incompetent. Who cares? Half of these things aren't even real cases anyway and should have been dropped. Why don't we do that? Why don't we take a little break? I need to work out anyway. I'm getting angry.
You know what? Corn Pop doesn't have great ideas when it comes to concealed carry, but this was a good idea. So yeah, let's come back. If there's a conference, we'll be back. So we'll keep you tuned.
Yeah, I'm hearing there's going to be a press conference at 12. I'll have a stream ready to go if that's the case. I don't know that it's going to be at 12. This is just what I'm getting. It could be later. It could be 1600. Whenever that press conference is, we're going to come back up live. I'm going to stream the press conference to here, and then we'll talk about it after. All right?
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I'm in.
All right, people. Listen, 1,385 people with us. We appreciate you. If the press conference doesn't happen, we'll be back at you tomorrow, live at 8:05. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. 1,600, Joe Curry's asking. That is 4 o'clock, my friend. Just add 12, everything after 1 p.m., right? So if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, it's 0100. If it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 1,300 hours. You just add 12. That's how you do military time. So yeah, so we don't know what it's going to be, but when it comes, it'll be. Do I think it's going to be Carmen Best? No, I don't.
No, neither do I. But I will say this. I just want to add this one more thing again. To anyone out there, if you're the subject of a civilian complaint, if you have an interrogation coming up where you have to speak the civilian complaint, I know you have the attorneys from the union, but they only speak to you for about 3 minutes. Contact us at www.thefinestunfiltered.com. We could help you with that. So that's something that we're working on to move forward to help you with that. So contact us, especially, I've beaten them numerous times. I've beaten them with a stick during the interviews. They interviewed me for over 4 hours trying to wear me out. So I can tell you how to answer these questions and how to go about it. I don't mean lying, telling the truth, but they're trying to give you leading questions, and they're trying to trick you. So it's important that you go in there prepared, just as they are.
E-Man says maybe it's the former fire commissioner. Nah, I think I heard she's Eric Adams. She was leaving to start a family. I think with her driver. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I think I messed up there. And then Marlon asked, what about the return of Rodney Harrison? I'm pretty sure Rodney Harrison was stealing time and he got kicked out of his last assignment.
I heard that too.
I don't think it's going to be him at all. Possibly someone coming from federal side to oversee the New York City Police Department.
And it should.
But again, if that's the case, again, I think there's a lot more weeding out from the upper echelon that needs to be done. I think the NYPD needs to be made great again. I just don't see how it's going to get made great again when Eric Adams the mayor. I just don't see it.
And you know what this will be, John? You know what this will be? We had the first Hispanic police commissioner. We have the first of everything. This will be the first time we have federal oversight as the police commissioner of the NYPD. This will be a first. We sure have the first of many in this administration.
Yeah, the Tish room is running around. Those of you who don't know who Jessica Tish is, she was a deputy commissioner of what's the internet MISD, but they changed it to something else.
It was Information
Technology Bureau.
Yeah.
Information Technology Bureau, formerly known as MSID. So she was that. Then she is now currently the deputy. She's the head of the New York City Sanitation Department. She's selling one of her townhomes. I think it's one of her condos. It's $25 million, I believe. You're not allowed to mortgage the property, and the maintenance on the property is $12,000 a month. She is a billionaire. So what she knows about even throwing out her own garbage probably isn't anything. She probably doesn't even know how to tie the bag in her garbage pail. She's a billionaire heiress. I believe her father is heavily tied into the New York City Police Foundation. So, yeah, I don't know why she was involved in ITB. I don't know why she's involved in sanitation. But I'm going to say right now, she is not going to be the next New York City police commissioner. That is my thoughts on it. I don't know. That's it. But Eric, what do we bet for anyway? Do we have to do anything?
Yeah, I think we bet to shave our beards. I think. Listen, how about this? If it's not Kaz or it's not Tyreek, we just cancel out because I don't want to shave. If I lose, I'll shave. But
yeah, Kaiser Sose.
Here we go.
Sose says Rebecca Weiner, Columbia University professor Rebecca Weiner.
Oh my God.
I mean, I don't know. I think she was like a PAA like a year ago. Now she's a deputy commissioner. I'll
tell you what though, brother. This is exactly what I was thinking. Ron Lacey is spot on. This is exactly what came to my head. Adams is in no position to appoint another PC in the current atmosphere. Too many of us appoint the administration under investigation, which is why I think we need a system in place. God forbid this ever happens again. That if we don't turn to elected officials, sheriffs being appointed by the people, if we're still going to continue on this path that the mayor appoints the police commissioner, if the mayor is under investigation also, who appoints the police commissioner? So that's a great point. We need to explore that.
Yeah, no, we absolutely do. So, yeah, we got 1,400 people in here. Listen, we'll be back at you when that press conference goes. We're going to come up live. That's all we got. We don't know anything right now. We'll come back to the corruption in New York City. Thank you guys for joining us. New York's Finest Retired and Unfiltered podcast. If that press conference doesn't happen, we'll be back at you live 8:05 tomorrow morning. If it does, we're going to go right up as soon as that happens. So see, more than likely, we'll see you guys in a few. I think we hit everybody on here. Eric, anything before we close?
No, absolutely. We'll see you soon. Stay tuned. And no matter what, just remember, there is corruption going on. If they tell you there's absolutely no corruption, his brother has a security gig. He's got a detail. That's corruption. Everyone's infected. Remember that. Thank you for watching us. 8:05 live in the morning. We'll see if there's a press conference. We'll be ready to go. Get something to eat. Thank you.
Tom Sullivan is the Republican, Conservative, and Common Sense Party candidate for New York State Assembly District 23. Tom is a financial professional who served simultaneously in the United States Army Reserve for 30 years and has now retired. His district covers Ozone Park, Lindenwold, Howard Beach, Broad Channel, and the Rockaway Peninsula.
Come November, I would empower our law enforcement agencies to go out there and do their job and not put them or their families or their pensions at risk for doing their jobs. We need drastic change in Albany so that we have a say in this matter and they realize people of New York State will hold them accountable.
The Sullivan family has a legacy of service. Tom served for 30 years protecting and defending the rights of others. Come this November, he has earned your support. This advertisement's paid for by the Friends of Tom Sullivan.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888-901-BLUE. That's 888-901-BLUE.